Me using Warpaint started with wanting to be different than all the other streamers and players out there. I've gotten used to it to the point that it almost feels like I turn into a different person when I do it. I think if not on this tournament, the next one we will definitely be the champions.
I was created for this. Locked and loaded. This is my favorite part. I am ready. I hope you are too.
This is the Apex Legends Global Series, where the best Apex Legends competitors gather together to take their shot at playing for glory, fame, and bragging rights. When last we met for Online Tournament 5, the days seemed to be shaping up as a slugfest between Gambit Gaming and Alliance. Gambit looked like a strong candidate to take first place with 4 top 5 finishes and 27 total kills for a final score of 61 points. But it wasn't meant to be, as notching 35 kills and 2 first place finishes, relative unknowns, CHMK, continued the trend of unsigned Apex Legends amateurs, taking home the trophy. Now Sonya and the rest of CHMK will see if they can be the first ALGS team to win back-to-back tournaments. But today, the dropships are loading up with more challengers, all vying to knock the crown off CHMK's heads, with teams like Nasty Strafe Dell and XClick Esports all looking to wipe the champion squad and grab that first place trophy and prize money. It's time to find out which teams are going to surprise us. Who will pull out those devious, notorious rat strats? Who is going to outshoot, outthink, and outplay their rivals? Who's pushing with R99s and PKs? And who's sitting back with a scout? Ready up and settle in. Welcome to the Apex Legends. Welcome to the Apex Legends Global Series.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to online tournament number 6 for the European finals of the Apex Legends Global Series. My name is Fallout, and I am so incredibly excited to be bringing you the action live from World's Edge for the very first time on broadcast. She's been watching for a long time. She's been streaming and playing Apex for a long time, but I'm joined with the one and only Ninjayla. Jayla, is so excited to have you. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, Fallout. Honestly, I'm super nervous today. It's my first broadcast. I wish I had a heart rate monitor. Like I'm kind of freaking out, but I'm happy to be here.
I'll tell you right now, my first broadcast, I was like a live potato. I didn't know what I was doing. So it is a tough thing to do, to be jumping into a broadcast for the first time. Kudos to you for doing it. We're excited to have you. So thank you so much for joining us on broadcast. It's going to be a lot of fun today to get your insights, your knowledge into Apex Legends. And as a special, special welcome to Ninjayla for joining the broadcast, we put together a little package. Let's take a look.
Oh, he's trying to finish me too. Don't do it! Oh, thank God, Jayla. Oh, get 1 minute.
Let's go! Let's go!
Yeah, we're so good. Not on all of them?
So we know my girl can shoot, and now we know my girl is going to be killing it on the broadcast.
Oh,
the
my
skills
gosh.
we saw on that stream. By the way, that was the first time Jayla has ever seen that. We kept that as a surprise from rehearsals. Jayla, what are your thoughts on that one?
I was not expecting that. Oh my gosh. Dude, thank you guys so
That
much.
was awesome. And thank you for joining us. I know it's a big deal to be joining the broadcast the first time. We just wanted to give you a warm, special welcome. So again, please give some love in the chat for Ninjayla. She deserves all the love in the world. She's put hours upon hours upon hours into Apex Legends as a streamer and has been doing it for a long time. Has been a big fan of competitive Apex for a long time. Has watched since Poland and before, and is now joining us on broadcast the first time. So welcome, Jayla, one last time. Thank you for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, looking forward to a great day. But for those of you that are watching at home, some of you guys have been watching for a long time. Some of you may be watching for the first time. So let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule for the day so you know when exactly everything is going to go down. Of course, we're starting live here in just a moment. European finals are going to be live in with game number 1. North America, however, will be later today. So make sure to set your calendars, set your alarm clocks right now if you want to watch North America as well. 5:45 p.m. Pacific time, 8:45 Eastern time in New York. And if you're going to stay with us through the night in Europe, 1:45 a.m. London time, we'll be going live with North America as well. And if you're interested in what the format's going to be for the day, let's take a look at that. Yesterday, teams qualified to make it to this point, the road to the finals on May 30th, aka Saturday. Teams played 3 rounds to reach the finals. 202 teams have been eliminated. Only the top 20 teams in Europe remain. That goes to show how the upper echelon of skill is going to be shown today. After each round, the teams with the highest scores advance to the next round, and kind of like a single elimination tournament, if you will, to make it to today, the grand finals, which will feature 5 straight matches. 20 squads and 60 participants will be earning points for each of the 5 matches based on placement and kills. We'll talk about that point breakdown a little bit later when our casters start. And of course, the teams with the highest score at the end after all 5 matches based on placement points and based on how many kills they get will be the online tournament number 6 winner. It is going to be an amazing day of Apex action, and it's kind of bittersweet because this is the last of this kind of era. We didn't necessarily call it a spring season because a lot has changed over the last few months, but we've had these online, they were originally online qualifiers, now online tournaments, and of course we're jumping into summer circuit, which we'll tell you a little bit about later. But this is the last one of this first era, this spring season, if you will. So it's a special one. Not one team in Europe so far has actually won more than one tournament. We've had 5 different winners in our first 5 tournaments. Will we see a repeat today? I'm really excited to see that. But these teams are also playing for a lot of money. Let's take a look at the prize pool and see what they're playing for. Not just ALGS points, not just guts and glory. It's a lot of cash here, Jayla. $7,200 for first place, all the way down to $590 for 10th.
$72,000 is a lot to fight for. These teams are working pretty hard to make it through the finals. This is one of those times where it actually pays off. So I'm pretty excited to see who gets first place.
Yeah, you're spot on. I mean, the fact that people have been grinding day in and day out, scrimming, practicing, and you have a chance to keep competing amidst the current situation. No, obviously no LAN tournaments right now, but they have a chance to compete in all of these online tournaments and then going into the summer circuit with a giant chunk of prize pool as well is great. So kudos to EA and, of course, the Apex Legends team for making the prize pool possible. A lot of money to be played for as well. And speaking of which, who's going to be playing for y'all for this money? Who's been grinding? Well, let's take a look at the overall standings in Europe and see which teams are at top of the leaderboards. Currently sitting at number 1 in ALGS points. That means they've earned these ALGS points by placing in all of the 5 tournaments. Well, guess what? Ad-Hoc Gaming, who took Myth's spot last tournament with by being the number 1 team in terms of overall ALGS points by consistency. The addition of Kuya on that team obviously helped, as Gababrilla won the first online tournament back in January. It seems like it's been so long ago. Those are the teams overall in online points. However, let's also take a look at the teams that are going to be competing today in the online tournament based on who is qualified. You'll see a lot of similar names here: Navi, Alliance, Ad-Hoc Gaming, Myth, Gambit Esports. Myth is a squad that has won an online tournament. The addition of Oxbow has proven to be so great for that squad. They did not make it last online tournament to the finals. They are back in the finals today. I'm excited to see what they can do. So that's our teams for today. A couple of new teams, Major Pushers finalized. I think Major Pushers are coming from Russia. Finalized. Odin Gamers, Limitless. We haven't seen a whole lot of them in online tournaments, so I'm excited to see if there could be a dark horse team that could make some noise. But Jay, I want to ask you, any teams in particular that you're looking out for?
I'm definitely looking forward to Ad-Hoc Gaming. Every time they have played in the online tournaments, they have placed top 10. So I'm hoping for them to be able to bring home a win this time. CHMK did win OT5, so it'd be interesting to see if they can go back to back, honestly.
Yeah, will they be our first back-to-back team? We haven't seen it in Europe yet, as mentioned earlier. So that's a good call out. Ad-Hoc Gaming, led by Matafe on that squad, vocal leader IGL. Excited to see what they can do. Virtus Pro's on this list. I think they got top 4, top 5 in the last online tournament. They're a team that had a lot of hype coming into the online tournament series. Of course, in Poland, they played well. A great squad. I'm a big fan of VP but in terms of their makeup. I think all 3 of them still work full-time jobs while playing video games professionally, but they haven't won yet. So they're kind of a question mark team for me. I want to see if they can come out on top. Almost every of the other teams on there have either won. Myth is obviously an honorable mention that wasn't on there, as I mentioned earlier. They didn't qualify for the last online tournament, but they're going to be coming back with a vengeance as well. So a variety of teams that are going to be working really, really hard to grind and to get ready for this tournament. They've been putting in the work. They want to come out on top and end with a bang for at least this first kind of season of online tournaments, if you will. One team in particular and one player in particular that we mentioned earlier is Matafe, a streamer just like Jayla for Ad-Hoc Gaming. A very fun individual to watch. We had a chance to learn a little bit more about Matafe with his player profile. Take a look.
Competitively, I am known for doing very good late game rotations.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Otherwise, I'm very known by running the same with one
muted myself.
Spam executing everyone I know. My name is Matefe Konya. I go by nickname Matafe, and I'm a professional Apex Legends player for Ad-Hoc Gaming. What has drawn me the most to Apex Legends is that it's a battle royale. There is no preset positions, preset angles, or plans how to play it. Every single game is going to be different. I think it makes smarter players succeed way more than mechanically talented players. Me using Warpaint started with wanting to be different than all the other streamers and players out there. I've gotten used to it to the point that it almost feels like I turn into a different person when I do it. In real life, I'm a shy, quiet guy, and when I do that, I'm talkative, funny, sometimes toxic. In Apex Legends, I'm very well known by always running Wingman. I'm the IGL for my team. My champion of choice is Wraith. She's been my main character since the beginning of Apex. I like her mainly because her Q ability, invisibility, means that you can play very, very aggressive. Her secondary ultimate ability is a teleport, means that you can get out of any tough situation without taking any damage. We are one of the rare teams that loot until zone starts closing or even after that. We make sure we have always good gear, always good weapons. We take a position that's not prime for where we think it's ending, but is a good position for all the end zones we know could happen.
Oh my god, I'm insane!
As a team, we've been going through some rough times with roster changes and trying to change our composition. We have finally found what we like, what we excel at. I think if not on this tournament, the next one, we will definitely be the champions.
Good fucking job, guys.
I absolutely love that profile, Matafe. A glimpse into him as a person, maybe a quiet, humble type of guy, but when he turns into Matafe on stream, puts the war paint on, he turns into a whole new individual. Jayla, I gotta ask you saw, he has a little pre-stream ritual, puts the war paint on. Are you gonna adopt some of that for your stream? Or are we gonna see some war paint across your face next time you go live?
Honestly, I wish I would have put it on today. Maybe it would help me with my nerves. Honestly, it's just interesting to hear that Matafe is actually a shy person, like off stream, and like the war paint kind of like transforms him into like the beast that he is on stream. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It is awesome to hear. And of course, the beast he is on stream in terms of his personality, but also in the game. He mentioned his wingman being so incredibly sharp. We actually have a clip and a tweet from Matafe showcasing that wingman skill that he mentioned. One of the best wingmans in the game, in my eyes. 2 versus 3 clutch from the hashtag Apex Legends ALGS $100,000 EU quarterfinals. We'll run it back again so you can see it from the beginning here as Matafe putting in absolute work with that wingman. He called it a 2v3 clutch, but 2 of his teammates went down pretty early here. So it was really the Matafe show. He had to pop off. Takes out one, takes out the wingman, connects for a couple shots on the third. GG, too easy from Matafe with a huge clutch coming through yesterday, which of course helped Ad-Hoc Gaming progress and qualify for today. So Ad-Hoc is one of the teams that has qualified for almost every single online tournament. They picked up Kuya from Kababrila, who won the first online tournament, as I mentioned earlier, in January. So they're a top team, undoubtedly. I mean, they're a team that is going to look to make some big noise today. Can they win their first tournament is the big question there. And as I've kind of mentioned a few times, this is the end of an era for Apex Legends, these first wave of online tournaments. If you missed it, I don't know how you missed it. Maybe you're living under a rock. We announced the Super Region Summer Circuit schedule. Let's take a look at the schedule for the Summer Circuit so you can see the next era of online competitions for now for Apex Legends. You love to see it from the Apex Legends team. John Nelson, the commissioner, the entire Apex team, Ghostiami Shaheen, Mark, put so much work into this beautiful format for the Super Regionals. If you don't know the details, all of the details are in the rulebook and the handbook. However, we are expanding from just regional play, North America, Europe, to super regional play, the Americas, including South America, and EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Asia, going to be competing as a super region alongside our 2 APAC super regions. So we're going to see more competitions from more teams from a variety of regions. It's going to be amazing. Set your calendar now, June 21st, July 12th, all the way through the summer for the Apex Legends Global Series Summer Circuit. I'm really excited. Jayla, your thoughts on the upcoming Summer Circuit? Are we going to see it for more broadcasts, I hope?
Honestly, I hope I'll be here. I'm super excited to see like who makes it into the summer series and the new teams that we'll be seeing.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of new competition, a lot of new teams that are going to be competing, and we'll have a chance to hopefully build some new storylines. And of course, the online open qualifier format where anyone can compete, anyone can show up, stands true in this format. So you like to see that Cinderella story. I went to my first tournament as an amateur team, clawed my way through an open bracket, made it to the championship bracket, and was able to compete against the best of them, just like you can do today in Apex Legends. And that was like 12 years ago. I'm an old man. So you like to see that open qualifier format. And as we say that, it looks like we're getting ready and gearing up for game number 1, which is about to be underway. Make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. We'll be reading your tweets live on stream throughout the entirety of the broadcast. Tweet at us, at Fallout with 2 T's, and at Ninjala over here. We'd love to hear your tweets, hear your thoughts. And of course, you can follow Apex Legends at Play Apex on all channels, Twitter, YouTube, Facebook, you name it, to keep up with all things ALGS and Apex Legends. We're getting excited for game number 1, which is just about underway. Our casters are ready. The teams are ready. The dropship is loading, and it looks like we're going to be kicking it over to our casters in just a moment for game number 1 after this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome for game number 1. I want to thank Fallout and Jayla for bringing us preamble here to our online tournament number 6 finals. My name is Bravo, joined alongside Rain Day Rain. Pretty excited here because we've got some interesting stories that have developed over the course of the past 5 years.
I mean, we get into these things. First of all, what's up, Bravo? How you doing? I got some morning coffee, man. You know, you and me, we're the coffee connoisseurs here. I shouted you out in a tweet. Unfortunately, for those at home watching, I spilled coffee all over my shirt today, and it was a little bit of a scramble. I like the preamble. It reminded me of Scramble. But I think right now these teams are doing anything but. They're set up to finish their last OT6. And I think, Rob, this has shown a long road of growth, a long road of adjustments, and a long road of meta and map changes. They've played on Kings Canyon. They played on, World's Edge. I think World's Edge. They play different characters. And Season 5 has brought a whole new thing to the table, Rob. So it's going to be exciting for us to cast, but also I think the viewers to see how this new meta shift and how these new legends, if anything, especially Loba, come and fit into these high-level players' mentalities and how they're going to compete today.
Absolutely. And as we know, right, there's some things in Season 5 that certainly shook things up, some of them impacting competitive play, some of them not necessarily. Are going to be highlighting those throughout the day, and excited to jump in. I mean, if you think about some of the biggest changes off the top of the list, things like the Gibby bubble, things like Gold Hill, things like changes like that are what we're going to see impacting today's game specifically.
Yeah, and I think when you even look across not only legends with Loba being introduced, the question is who's going to be the pioneer. I mean, obviously she brings several things to the table with the black market boutique and also the ability with that translocator to reach high ground. There's a bit of a delay at the end, which obviously makes you question whether it's something that can be as effective or as reliable in those tough situations you often get put in with teams sandwiching you. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun, man, as well as weapons to look out for, Rob. What's kind of stood out for you? I mean, just kind of back and forth before we get into the game, as far as weapons, as far as meta changes that you've kind of noticed.
Yeah, we'll jump into that in just a second. First, let's take a look at the points and the scoring to break down exactly what to expect for today's matches. Of course, if you've been watching the matches so far in the ALGS, you're very familiar with this format. 12 points for first place, 9th for second, 7th for third, and then we'll go down from 5 all the way to 1 point if you place 15. If you place outside that, 0 points. However, as a reminder, 1 additional point per kill. Those eliminations do add up in very big ways, and you'll see, depending on the team and their play style, can really be a huge factor in how they exit that tournament. And Rain, it's really been I think the best thing we could say about this system is really, it's just that it's all about consistency. When you have 5 games in the finals, 5 games is enough to really start to separate teams as they kind of pull away from one another by the ends of game 4 and 5.
Yeah, it's like tenants, it's like commandments. How do you go ahead and win an ALGS? What do you expect as a viewer? Well, if a team gets a big win off the bat, that's really all you need to put yourself in the position to win the overall tournament. But you got to stay consistent throughout it. You're looking for one big win, maybe first place with 5 kills apiece. If that's what you guys can do, that is a huge game, a 27-point victory, something like that, allowing you to get maybe 25 to 28. That would put you in a position to really set yourself up for winning this tournament. And so players are really going to look out for that. What I've noticed, though, is that as we've seen across the pond in North America and in Europe as well, sometimes you get that first win early, Brav, and it's just hard to maintain that momentum. So the great teams are going to be the ones that you see showing up in games 4 and game 5.
Absolutely. And now circling back, Rain, like you said, to kind of the things that we're excited to see today. One thing that I'm excited to see is exactly how Alliance plays, just because, as a note, anyone who caught it in the last esports arena tournament this week, Alliance was practicing crypto and kind of seeing how that might work for them. Now, you also saw IPN take to Twitter after that saying, to be clear, we are a caustic team. However, we're also experimenting. So I think that's a huge statement from a side like Alliance to be running a newer, I'll call it a newer isolated meta. However, during esports arena tournaments, these weeklies are a great opportunity to really sharpen your skills with that meta. But instead, they're running crypto. I think that says to me a lot about their confidence in that caustic meta.
And why wouldn't you be? I mean, if you look at it from a viewer's perspective and even a competitor's perspective, nobody's playing caustic. You guys bring caustic out and you see the results that happen. I mean, wins and wins and wins, and now starts to translate all across North America as well. And so you're seeing Europe and these teams with, guys like Hawkes, like Vapes, like IPN being willing to experiment and then seeing good results from it. Why not keep going? There's so many different legends that we haven't seen break into the top 3. And whether it be for true validity, we don't know yet because people haven't actually tried them in the highest competitive scene on a grand scale. Now Caustic has gotten the A-OK. You could play him at high level, but maybe Crypto's next. Maybe Loba's next. Shoot. I mean, maybe there's a day Bloodhound is next. I don't know, but I'm hoping for it as a fan of Apex. I love to see the variety in legend choices.
Absolutely, and we've slowly seen over the course of the past 2 patches, like you said, certain changes being made to Legends to bring them into the meta, if you will. Caustic, one of those players without a doubt, and his Season 5 changes also to gas certainly only further the Caustic meta. But we're ready to get into game number 1, folks, here. This will be our first game for the European side of online tournament number 6. Action kicking off in just a moment. If you didn't catch the semifinals yesterday, you missed some great games.
And one thing we have to talk about, Rain, is some big omissions from the European side that we won't see in today's matches that will make space for other teams to rise. That's going to be LG, Lazarus, BDS, Weigers, EXE, all not making these finals. Also got to talk about Gamers Origin. They are your your European leaderboard number 3. And they actually exited in quarterfinal number 1. That's a tough exit. They will have to sit out and watch as these teams duke it out and increase the point totals for this season. Here we are, folks. Game number 1.
Land here.
And we're following along with Alliance as well. I think you see these teams suddenly realizing that just the competition has gotten better and better. Respect through all the lobbies, all the semifinals, quarterfinals, even rounds of 160s where they're competing, noticing just the increase in skill, and it's being harder for even big-name teams to show up in every single one. So you really got to earn it to be there. And these guys as well, Alliance, number 4 in the overall ALGS points for Europe, just taking that ride a little bit farther towards that epicenter survey campsite and splitting off just a bit to try to maximize that loot potential early game and pick up anything in case they need it on the far side as well.
And absolutely, as we see, of course, Alliance back to their talking about it, which we certainly expected based on not just IPN's comments following the Esports Arena tournament, but also, of course, just how they've played with Caustic Meta so far, going very well for them as they are going to get ready for that loot. And like they said, splitting not just around Epicenter, but also around Survey as well as they will begin. But just in case you're just joining us, Ad-Hoc Gaming, our European number 1 right now, of course, you'd expect them to be here. They place around 3rd in their semifinal. Myth, the second-ranked team, actually coming in with a 9th place in their semifinal. Rain, you and I were talking about it before the event. A pretty clutch last few games to make sure that they got into this finals, because as a second-ranked team, it would be painful to sit out and let the team kind of accumulate points, and Gamers Origin is an example of that, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at it right there. It happened at number 3. So number 2, allowing themselves to stay in the money, but it is not fun to sit down and watch people compete at the highest level, especially when you know you should be there. I think everyone who's competed, whether it be in sports, whether it be in gaming competition, you know that when you're just a little bit away and you don't play your best, and then you have to watch someone else kind of take that glory for the day, nothing makes you more engaged to try to get back out there to prove yourself again than seeing other people do something you feel like you could be doing. You just want to get right back out there. So I love the awarenesses. Sometimes these guys need to understand that, you know, it's not a given. All these guys are working very, very hard nonstop to stay at the top.
And take a look here. This is the Outsiders side as they came into 10th in their semifinal, and they are actually finding some early action here at Thermal. Certainly much earlier in the game than you'd expect here, as there's certainly an example of 2 teams dropping on the same drop and now going to fight each other off of this Thermal top.
Big Havoc stuff as well. The side fire, the hip fire on the Havoc, so valuable, but he gets downed before he can actually follow along. It's still 2 remaining, though, trying to pop a med kit. Is the FPS, he is going to look and see his teammate fall down. This is not a good sign. He doesn't have a shield as well. He gets the med kit off, though, and that could be huge, bro.
Absolutely. Now we'll see if they're going to be able to fight through this now. Taking a look at Taxi as well as Baker. They are both still up for this Click side.
And they need to really find some answers here. Patience is in their favor, and this is what you see with resources. You just find the ability to have those shields, have the extra, obviously, chances to make a fight a little slower. And you look at the other side. It just isn't the same. Sometimes when you are out of those opportunities, and that was the X right there. He really needed to try to rush that fight, and unfortunately, he just didn't get a shield. They land. They're the first team to go at Thermal. It's going to be all CLQ. Click finding their home base and just getting plenty of time to loot up and get ready to move in.
Absolutely. Outsiders will be our first team to exit at the hands of X Click, and not really surprising as you see. Teams are now going to be converging much more on Thermal as well. We do see things going all the way down to the bottom left. We've certainly seen this end circle many times before, and it's not surprising that we do have now the Triumph side trying to get some good real estate as well. Wouldn't be surprised if we saw them balloon to some of these back corner buildings here. It looks like that is indeed what it's going to be. They want the premium real estate in that bottom right of Thermal.
I mean, these guys, strong finishes in OT 2 and 3, and obviously we expect them to have that potential to pop off yet again, and they are rotating, like you mentioned, Brock, to a strong building here, but it's already contested. So many early fights near Thermal because people now with the Pathfinder Recon Beacon have the understanding that this is most likely where the circle is going to end. Just getting a little safety and some heals inside the Gibby bubble right now, trying to hold the high ground because that is probably the safest way to share this building. No need to contest. They can both kind of occupy this space. It's like, a roommate. You agree in college, let's save a little bit of money. We don't need to go out and, rush all the expenses here. We still want to eat out, go out on Friday night. So these guys just bring to a little truce.
And now take a look at this now. It's actually going to be Dell who has to queue out and pop a bat. GSD, a team that's looking very good coming into this tournament, placing first in their semifinal as well. Strafe already on gold as he will heal up on the roof as well. GSD, a team that has grabbed this building that's just to the left here. So this is your 3 teams that have now held our bottom right thermal territory. They are going to be highly contested throughout this game, and it certainly is going to depend on exactly what type of pulls we get to determine if and how soon they have to move.
And as they kind of are in this little chess match here, this do or don't between holding the high ground, trying to push down to the low ground, you can see Triumph, they're in a good spot. They've got the Mastiff. Obviously, if you're seeing this and noticing it's red and not legendary, you may be wondering what the heck happened. Well, Season 5 introduced that into the normal loot rotation and put the Peacekeeper into the care package weapons, Brav. And honestly, the Mastiff has almost been outperforming what the Peacekeeper was doing. It's a little bit of a strong statement, but you cannot deny that the Mastiff has become a meta shotgun and one of the go-to probably 2, 3, or 4 weapons that you'll see most of these players carrying, especially if they're more of an entry role like you would see somebody running to, or even when you look at the Gibraltar here who might be holding it down. But really strong changes to that shotgun to introduce in Season 5.
Absolutely, and of course, just a few days ago on the Mage 27 patch, also frequency of that weapon reduced in World Drops as well. So we're going to see a tiny bit less than you might have seen since Season 5, however, as Rain said, undoubtedly going to be a factor in these matches today for both Europe and North America. Also, we're getting an eye here on Gambit, who has quite a bit of fencing done, and to be honest, more fencing than you'd expect from a low team. Take a look as they're able to extend that all the way up the stairs, and they're actually the ones that are poking up the stairs and doing damage. Pretty rare, and that's some great work there from the side of Artico to be able to get those fences up. That is their walk. Now also taking a look here at Cooler, who's still up by Mirage Voyage. They've got a little bit of time, no huge rush, but they are going to need to take the Mirage to Thermal Choke, which can get highly contested and more difficult as the game goes on. Right now, they're going to kind of be the gatekeepers of that Thermal Choke for the time being, and they're going to be happy to be there because they might be able to pick up some KP as teams are coming down.
Important conversations to have as well. Do we start to rotate? Do we try to hold chokes? Do we play with the zone? Especially if you're not there already. And that is like one of the biggest conversations that I think you have to play. And there's no right answer necessarily, but they're going to try to get as much damage as possible. No Evo shield. Nice Thermite. It is going to hit. That 3 ticks away. Hits another one. The shield is almost broken, so the portal is most likely going to be stopped. A beautiful bubble there as well, which is going to allow the safe entrance into the portal. They may not be able to chase it at this point. Still 18 squads left, and they're pursuing their prey. They've escaped just for now.
Absolutely. Now I'm going to get some comfortable heals off here as we are still on board with the Cooler side, as we said, expecting to be able to gatekeep anyone who still might be rotating south from a very late Fisher, Skyhook, or Drill Site. And actually, that's what they're going to find down low. Let's take a look and see if they can take advantage of this. They certainly have height, and right now getting lots of damage is Sign. He's going to fly in. Not wait. There's the Mastiff already, Rain.
And it's doing work as well. Look at that, 55 from that range. That's where an R301 is supposed to be doing a lot of damage, but the shotgun says, let me introduce you to this new loot weapon right here, the Mastiff, making all the right moves in all the right places. Cooler, he's following down as well, just sliding with the 301. Still a solid weapon for them to use, and right now, with already one down, Cooler feels really confident about pushing this. You know they're going to get at least 1 KP from this and try to finish them off quickly, especially since there is a little bit of that, let's get the resources, let's kind of speed this up. We don't want to get third-partied as well, but they are edge of zone, so I think they feel confident that they can kind of take their time, loot up, and take anything they need into late game right now without being pressed from at least behind them.
You're absolutely right there, and that was SJP2 that was on the receiving end of those knocks and also elims. It's interesting to note Cooler and SJP2 actually placing third, fourth. Cooler in fourth in their semifinal, and SJP2 in third. So a little bit of a rivalry developing not only there, but even in bottom thermal, in our bottom right buildings that we identified earlier. As you'll remember, that was GSD and Triumph, which are also your first and second place in that same semifinal. So rivalries coming from those semifinals into this first game one of our finals already, and it's Cooler that it gets the best at SJP2, but we'll have to see yet between GSD and Triumph who's going to win those thermal battles that could go very well into the late game.
Absolutely, my friend. I mean, you look at these rivalries, and it's what makes us love watching competitive. Whether it's a rivalry in sports, whether it's in gaming, I really appreciate the way that these Apex teams have started to kind of develop their own tactics when trying to find the weaknesses and the strengths of their most valuable opponents. Because at the end of the day, like we've seen with almost the caustic understanding, you may not want to allow me to get free kills or free damage off the level of my Evo shield, but if both of us see a caustic rotating towards late game, we're just going to agree that there's a truce and try to finish him off before he can get to that final circle and get set up, because we know how deadly he is. Sometimes you do have to just understand there is a greater good at play, and sometimes you got to know your opponents, and that's what those rivalries really help do, the studying, the understanding of really how you need to approach a situation based on what that other team is very, very good at.
Absolutely, and you have to also think now with also the Season 5 changes coming with gas not impacting teammates as much, right? Makes that caustic late game meta, especially on interior spaces, even stronger. Now taking a look at Ad-Hoc Gaming, they're a little bit further up. They're in our thermal station, if you will, as they're going to hold down right along the train track, kind of this mid-ground. They're in a pretty comfortable spot, Rain, because if they do need to transition back to the bottom right of thermal, they can do so. If they instead need to cut across thermal, they can maybe take a southern route. Ad-Hoc Gaming, the side that we saw, if you caught the beginning of the show, we got to hear from Matafe, who I know you and I are big fans of, not only his play style, but also his persona. It's been great to see what they've been able to do, and there's a reason that this is your European #1 right now.
And I think it's partly just because of how good they are as a unit, how underrated some of these guys are. Kuya, you see Zipith. Matafe gets a lot of the credit because he's the biggest streamer. He's the biggest person you can watch his gameplay consistently and see from his POV. So naturally, he'll have a lot of fans. And he's obviously got Warpaint every time he jumps onto a stream. So it's a little interesting to see. But his teammates are so valuable in Kuya and Zipith in the way that they approach the game, how they assist him in being aggressive, how they bail him out of situations at times. They all count on each other, and that's one of the things I love about AHG, their ability to work as a unit and recognize that, you may get into a pickle, but trust us, we will do our best to get you out. We're not going to blame you. We're just going to try to roll with the punches, and that's what I like about them versus some other team comms that we've heard where there's a lot of blame going on. A lot of times it's just ownership, it's just responsibility, and it's just here's what we could have done better with AHG. I think that's why they've been so successful and find themselves #1.
And look at SJP2. We don't know exactly. We did not get eyes on exactly which player on SJP2 was able to stay alive. However, they lived through that fight with Cooler. Even though Cooler did get those bull wipes on 1 or 2 players, SJP2 is able to get the res or double res. Once again, we did not get eyes on exactly where the situation was or where they resed. However, they have made their way into thermal, and they made sure that they did not exit early. Pretty great play there from SJP2 to stay in the game. Now we're also looking at Limitless as they're making their rotation on this back wall. They're still close to Harvester, and they're going to have to make a pretty tricky route through this northern choke, which is a very small route. And you know that teams, as they're going to also take a little bit of ring damage here, teams are going to be holding that thermal ridge that they're about to enter. Almost certainly to their right, they are going to meet up teams. Here they are. They're the fences.
And you can see that 35 seconds now ticking away from Ida. He has the Pathfinder, and most people considered that Pathfinder nerf to be pretty jaw-dropping when Season 5 came, and we've seen still a predominantly Pathfinder lobby with Watsons and Wraiths. Yes, there's Gibbies, yes, there are Caustics, but it's not like Pathfinder has disappeared from the least. And if you've watched scrims over the last week, you've seen Pathfinder teams winning consistently. So I don't think the efficacy of this legend has been decreased whatsoever. What I do realize, and what people who may be playing this game casually don't necessarily understand, is that the ability to do it is so much higher as far as execution needed to prevail. You have way less wiggle room to succeed. Your grapples have to be perfect, and you can't be as aggressive, to be honest. You just don't have as much wiggle room to get out of a bad position, and that's what Pathfinder's used to. So Tadayama just staying back, playing a little patiently here with the wingman firing through, and it's some nice wingman shots.
Yeah, this is dead inside trying to make this tunnel push. As you know, any of the tunnels here on this map are otherwise very difficult to push. But great damage does come out of him. He has to be careful, has to queue back to his team as well. On the other side, though, we'll see Disbelief also helping with support, but not a lot in the way of shields for dead inside as they continue to make this push. And they're able to get that. Yes, indeed, they're going to pick up the kills. There's Stanny picking up that last one as well. They will win that push through the tunnel, but now back on board with Myth.
And they find a couple of shield cells as well. Notice that gold armor not in view of many of our players right now. Obviously a rare treat to find, but it's going to make the shield cells hit for double healing whenever you find it. And at this point, I wish they, I'm sure they're wishing for a little bit more healing as well, Brob, just because this is not a good situation. One member down, and now Myth. Trippy's got to find a way to push. He's got the massive big shot, 66. He's going to pull back as well. Another Gibby, but the shield is up, so he's going to back off. Any more delay, and they're just going to hold here. He knows that he's got to push. I was going to say delay is death, and so far it ends up being Myth, who lose two, but it seems like Amaz has a chance to pick them back up in a little bit of safety.
Ooh, it looks like thought we saw nades coming in from here as well. Yes, indeed, Ping's coming down. Going to have to be very careful. He is the last line for his team. Going to have a shield block here for the Reds. Looks like they will be able to get that awesome, good teamwork, but might be too little, too late here. Amaz taking damage. Needs to win this battle here. He will go down, and that will be Myth exiting early on in our game number one. As we said, they squeaked through to these finals. They are your European number two, so they're going to have to set their sights on game number two to put some points on the board. But now back with Alliance, we didn't catch what happened, but their Caustic IPN, he is down now and has been full wiped. So it's going to be up to Vaves and Hawkus to play through this. They're in a pretty common hold here at Thermal. Right now they are comfortable, but they know they're going to need to be moved soon.
And what seems like the case is that there are a couple of leftover Caustic canisters left over from IPN before he died. They do have his banner, however, so they're going to be looking to deliver him to a beacon if they can, because they know how important having IPN up for that late game is and how close it is getting as well. In the kill feed, you'll see Zipith finding a kill as well for AHG. That is going to put them a little bit ahead, and they're already ahead as far as total points, so you do not want to see that happening if you are Alliance right now under dire circumstances here.
Absolutely, like you said, they're just desperately trying to get to this late game. The chances of a beacon actually getting off are so low, but Caustic, one of the players that even with, like you mentioned, even with if they're not able to pick up the right armor and weapons for that Caustic can be so pivotal in holding that final circles. Like once again, that cannot be said for all Lexus, but now taking a look here, actually it's going to be the side of AHG, who now has moved all the way outside the ridge, and I'm surprised that we're seeing AHG all the way out here based on where they were earlier in the feed. As we take a look here, it's going to be Disbelief that takes down Kuya as well.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that they're hiding behind for the self-res. Unfortunately, they're not able to get it off, and that is going to be HG down and out. So really no placement points there as well, landing at 13. VP, though, in a really nice position. They have high ground. Again, using the Pathfinder, Watson, Wraith combination we've seen most successful in ALGS tournaments in the past. The Wingman has been better this season with the Full Piercer, but Navi doesn't need it as well. He's just going to hit random, beautiful shots through those little holes inside the railings, and he's going to find plenty of damage there without the hop-up. And, of course, VP with blue shields could use an upgrade, but right now they're just in a great position, so they don't really have to fight more than what's in front of them.
Absolutely. Now, and as we saw earlier, AHG had to make that route from the station to the south, and they were not able to do it successfully. Received a lot of fire on the way, undoubtedly from multiple squads here. Now with just 9 squads left in the game, and we're seeing it pull very central south Thermal, which is not all that common of a pull. Typically we see it pulling bottom left or bottom right. Instead we are seeing pulling right now straight down, and now things are going to get pretty tricky as teams have to exit main Thermal, the western buildings and the eastern buildings all at once here. It's going to be a lot of play in the open range.
This is really tough here as well. Virtus Pro, it seems like the team, all they had to do was fight in front of them, but it's with SJP2 actually in a fight with VP, and it looks like Team Purge is going to push both of them, so this could be bad for both squads as well. Seaback falls, Not falls as well to SJP2, and it feels like they have just done each other dirty, knowing that there is another team pushing both of them. They're going to try to find a little bit of respite, maybe a bit of a truce, Rob, just to get into a better position, knowing they both have to move.
Absolutely now. And then they're also now on height. They're going to continue to rack up damage from this position. They're going to be able to drop down as well to get that wipe. That is going to be Stanny who will go down. Also, we're seeing Triumph in the feed go down as well. JMW and Graceful along with Sadayama in the feed as well now, just like that. 6 squads left here, 13 seconds.
And look at this big guy, CHMK. We found him, and Hrani, as you had been mentioning as far as the pronunciation, these boys are in a beautiful position in high ground as well, and squads keep dropping. Sturdell, he finds one with a gold shield. They've got purple, and they've got the Evos, and this is a great spot to be in as well. No Mastiff needed. He's got the Skull Piercer, and that is perfect. The Purge, and you can see, obviously, when you look at CHMK, both teams in prime positions to win this lobby.
Absolutely. Now taking a look here, still CHMK. As we said, we hadn't seen a lot of them in this game, but they were ready for this rotation, and they are here now, holding that bubble for as long as they can. Still looking good here in the field, but it's going to be Scania who has to also top of that. Bonnie only half shield as well, but look at Rugby's HP. He's going to get one sell off there. It's going to end up being 2 because of the gold.
Oh, and that is beautiful as well. He's got the Peacekeeper, so that was going to go out of play. And now he might even be able to get the res. While you can see Purge is looking to fight at the high ground. There's 3 kills to their name at least, and I believe they might have almost 10 as a squad. Looking so good controlling this high ground, but you cannot forget about HMK. These guys were phenomenal last OT5, Rob, and it looks like they're going to have a chance to start OT6 off well with a win. But it's SJP2 who is back, and they are in the party, and it looks like Denze is moving forward to get into the action.
Yeah, see, the bubble goes down, but Denze's already in there. Takes the port, not sure if intentional. Might have to port back. He's going to get absolutely melted. Needs to be very careful just in case someone does come through that port. He is going to pop a bat. Still 3 squads remaining. Great damage coming in from the 99 of K Swinney as well. They will make sure that there's no one popping up and trying to climb up to height along with them as K Swinney's going to rotate around. Gets some great damage. Q back out with his team. Maybe pop a heal here as well. Yes, indeed, will do. Take a look at still 3 squads left here per THMK and SJP2.
And Purge with a high ground as well, Rob. It looks like they should have been in a great position, but they're getting shot by both teams as well. It's SJP2 and CHMK. These two have the best position to win, but SJP2 have been in the thick of things, and CHMK look like they can just aggress onto this position of beautiful Watson. Interception pylon is going to make sure that Gibraltar ultimate is null and void, and the wingman from up top, they're going to be anything but. They're going to drop down, Rob. This could be the victory.
This should be it here. CHMK might be able to close it out here. No, actually, it will be. Goes down now. It's all up to Rugby. Can Rugby get this win here against Final Player? Yes, indeed. And CHMK is your squad that does it again. Not only did they win last week, folks, but they're also back again. They've made their way onto the leaderboards, and they are making statements here. Amazing stuff there from Rugby Rain.
Amazing movement around that as well, because, you know, CHMK, a team we didn't follow until the final circle, but had such great positioning. They had high ground. They had battled through a bunch of teams that were already holding those top buildings and kind of just put themselves in a perfect position shield-wise. SJP2, they were fighting from behind. They got into a huge fight with VP. They were getting pushed from all different sides from Team Purge. It ended up being Team Purge and SJP2 who kind of fought it out first, and we all know how third parties are. We call them the best parties in Apex Legends because, you know, you see CHMK, they just roll over and say, hey, what's going on here? I got a wingman. Let's finish this off. Beautiful 1v1.
Absolutely. Also, yeah, like you said, big stuff from CHMK as a squad in the end there. SJP2, though, getting the better of Purge. And we got to talk about, first of all, we got to talk about the fact that Crypto is clearly hacking my connection here. I do apologize for my face jumping around the screen repeatedly. We'll go ahead and get that looked into. But SJP2, to come from where they came, down 1 or 2 players so early on in the game against Cooler, and then to come into that top 3, and I believe place second, we'll get confirmation, our analysts will as well, to get those final placings in just a moment. It was pretty fantastic, but let's go ahead and throw over to our analyst to wrap up game number 1.
Thank you so much, Bravo. Much appreciated. Fallout here, joined alongside Ninjala, ready to break down game number 1. And really, it was more of the same from online tournament number 5, where we saw CHMK, who won online tournament number 5, carry on where they left off with another victory here, Jayla. Break down what you saw right there in those final moments. It came down to a crazy 1 versus 1 between Rugby and SJP2. Rugby's able to clutch it up, but maybe didn't necessarily have to force that result in a 1v1, did they?
Yeah, the last moment was actually super intense. It was cool to see the 1v1, but I believe that they probably could have held the high ground a little bit longer, done a little bit more damage, and then pushed down. It didn't need to have a 1v1, but it was still pretty cool to watch. So I'm glad they clutched it up, and I'm sensing a little bit of back-to-back energy from CHMK for sure.
Yeah, that'd be awesome to see. First team in Europe to do it. I like the energy so far from CHMK, especially the way that they did it. Rewinding, about a minute before that end game fight, they were in a horrible position, backs against the wall, trying to heal up, trying to survive. Were able to survive a flank coming through from Purge on Wraith, who got some good shots in, but wasn't able to do enough damage, and then was able to heal up and take high ground away from, I believe, Purge, who had high ground. So honestly, that game was Purge's to win. They ended up getting, I believe, third place, SJP2 in second, I believe, and then ultimately it was CHMK that won, took home first place. Let's go ahead and take a look at the final moments to see exactly how things broke down in that end game and exactly what Jay was talking about. Jay, this is where you were mentioning they had, and they being CHMK had complete high ground here, didn't they?
Yeah, they actually had the high ground. It doesn't look like anybody went down before they jumped down. So it's interesting to see. It's interesting to think about why they made that choice, but I enjoyed the 1v1 there at the end. I could have been anybody's game.
Yeah, that's true. I guess as a caster and as a fan, you like to see the 1 versus 1 to dictate the winner. So I'm okay with that. I'll take the action, but that's a good call out. It's interesting to see and understand. Will be good to get in kind of in the heads of CHMK and understand why they dropped so early versus kind of just maintaining their high ground and posting up. I think at the end of the day, it probably came down to the Jibby bubble. They didn't want to give them a chance to use that bubble to regain health and reset the fight. They wanted to take advantage of the damage that was done by the previous team, which I believe was Purge in that previous fight. But we'll, of course, get the final results and standings for y'all to show you exactly who ended up where from a placements perspective. Crazy finish. But as we're talking about the results and getting the results ready, let's go back to the beginning of the game where we saw a crazy fast rotation come through from all members of the European lobby. Jayla, that has to be one of the fastest rotations we've ever seen from the European lobby yet.
Definitely. It was exciting to see so much action in the beginning of the game, them rotating so quickly. Not a lot of teams died in the beginning. They were kind of running from each other, just doing damage, but it was it was a lot to watch. Really fun.
Yeah, and a lot of early game fights at Thermal Station we saw early on between, I believe, Outsiders and what was the team that? Oh, they were playing against former Click, ex-Click, in a big fight on Thermal Station. I believe both teams were able to survive that and rotate through. We saw rotation from Gambit. I believe they dropped Sorting Factory as their typical drop spot, all the way to the corner edge of Sorting Factory, incredibly fast with their Pathfinder pick. So very, very interesting start to game one. A lot of early rotations as we're seeing the global meta start to kind of standardize across the board, as we're used to seeing those early rotations with the Pathfinder meta that TSM really popularized in North America. It's happening again here in Europe. But it looks like game one results are ready. So let's go ahead and take a look at the results from game number one. When it's all said and done, guess what? It's CHMK with a strong 9-kill first place finish, 21 total points for CHMK. And behind them is a team that we haven't seen a whole lot of in the online tournament of Apex Legends Global Series so far. It's Team Purge. Team Purge is a squad that, in my eyes, the big person to watch on that team is Case Swinney, who came from a different squad where he played Caustic, switched over to Wraith as kind of an IGL, and it showed a lot of high kills that came through from Team Purge with a lot of kills early on as well. Right behind him is SJP2, and Jill, I was asking you, I'm like, didn't SJP2 get taken out early by, I think, Cooler?
Yeah.
And they were able to get a res off, right?
They made a great recovery. They were underneath the rocks. They were getting naded. The Wraith was literally 1 HP. And she had the fast heal, so she was able to get the cells off and heal and res both of her teammates. So it was pretty cool.
You'll love to see it. Of course, Apex is the first, BR that popularized and brought the res mechanic to any BR, and we see it now at the highest level of Apex Legends. SJP2 with the Wraith that had barely any health left. They were in a horrible position. They were getting ulted on by a Gibraltar ult as well, I believe, right?
Yeah, they were. I'm honestly surprised that the Gibraltar did not do as much damage as I thought it would, but I don't know, man. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, crazy finish. The res comes off. All three members of SJP2 get back in the game. They're able to find some loot some way, somehow, and then end up in the third place spot as a result of game one. So a crazy start, that's for sure, to game number one here. And something tells me if game one's going to be that crazy, that's going to be indicative of what we're going to see from games 2 through 4. A lot of key storylines. Will we see our first repeat in the form of maybe CHMK? Can Gambit bounce back and get a repeat? Can Myth bounce back and get a repeat? Those two squads both got taken out early. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights here to show you how the action broke down in game number 1. But as mentioned, Gambit, Myth, some very top teams that we're used to watching get taken out early. This is the early fight that we saw between Click and Dead Inside, and Outsiders. I believe Outsiders did get taken out early. And this In this situation here, we saw Stanny, who's been a consistent performer on, I think he's actually on the Dead Inside roster. Not earlier, I meant to say Outsiders. Dead Inside roster, they played very, very well. Were able to get some kills early game. North, in the big fight here, RPR Monde and Taishin of North got taken out, I believe, by Gambit in that early fight. And then it was Purge, who played incredibly well, as mentioned. They started heating up, ended up with 9 kills. Were able to get quite a few kills early on. And really, it was Purge's game to lose as they had high ground. But CHMK was able to take high ground away from Purge and secure the late game kill in what was an intense 1v1. If I'm Sonya, I want that fight back, as he just got strafed by a Jibby, forcing his teammate Rugby to clutch a 1v1 to finish it. Look at this replay here, missing a couple of those wingman shots, and boom, that gives the Jibby an opportunity for a 1v1, but Rugby's too good. Uses the R99, comes out on top in that one, and it's going to be CHMK picking up where they left off from online tournament number 5 with the victory here in game number 1. But what's interesting, Jayla, is the standings are close. It's not like one team is just running away with it. You know, we're starting to send some vibes of a back-to-back from CHMK, but there's a lot of other teams in the running here, right?
Yeah, there definitely are a lot of teams in the running here. I'm honestly hoping for a back-to-back, the first back-to-back for Europe, but it could be anybody's game at this point.
Yeah, that is for sure. Could be anybody's game. A lot of opportunity to still show up, still compete. I'm looking for some of our other teams to watch that we mentioned. Virtus Pro made it to late game. I think they got 5th or 6th. So they are up there in the leaderboards. They got a couple kills as well. I believe they were the kill leaders at one point. I'm looking for Myth. I'm looking for Gambit. I'm looking for Alliance. Alliance is another team we didn't see a whole lot of, as they got taken out, I believe, relatively early as well. So a lot of our heavy Titan teams and top teams to watch get taken out pretty early there, but CHMK proves they are the team to watch as they get a victory in game number 1. This, of course, is online tournament number 6 of this first era of online tournaments for Apex Legends. We are going to be jumping into the Apex Legends Global Series Summer Circuit next with the Super Regionals that are going to be coming. So the stakes are going to be raised. The regional tournaments are going to become super regional tournaments where we're going to see all of the Americas, EMEA, so just Europe, Middle East, and Africa competing. People, representation from each region will be in each super regional, which is great to see, and that's going to be coming to you live all summer long. I love this new format. It's a narrative that we get to tell from event to event, because the top 10 teams from Super Regional 1 that in placement will actually automatically qualify for the next Super Regional 2. Of course, ALGS points are going to be very, very important as well. And in the playoffs, all these teams are vying to qualify for the playoffs at the end of the season. Well, the top 10 teams in ALGS points for the Super Region going into the playoffs will get 10 points to start what is the same match point format that we saw in Poland a few months ago, last year in 2019, Jayla, which you remember the crazy final we had where you had to get a certain amount of points and you had to win, and once you got match point. I know you were watching that event, so it's going to be an awesome showing in the playoffs.
For sure. Poland was pretty exciting to watch. I'm excited to see with the super regionals, just like more teams that we haven't seen before, more representation from other countries. So it honestly we might have like another like huge team that takes over.
That's for sure. There could be a brand new squads. Could be a Cinderella story. All sorts of storylines that are going to be coming for the summer circuit. So I'm excited for that. Mark your calendars. Get ready. But it looks like game number 2 is ready to get started here, and we're going to jump right into it. Let's go ahead and throw it back to our casters. Make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at PlayApex. But most importantly, let's go ahead and kick it over to our new casting pair. It's going to be it's going to be Onset and Jamerson. Take it away, guys.
Thank you, John. I can only wish that my voice was as soothing and as calming as Rain Days can be. But one person who does have a voice to complement my UK accent is, of course, Jameson. Super excited to be in the booth with you, my friend. And game 2 set up beautifully. We had a pretty consistent placing of the big teams within that top 10. Plenty of KP being shared about as well. So game 2 set up in quite a nice place at the moment.
I will say it's a little presumptuous of you to think that you'd be the Rain Day in this duo. Come on now. I'm pretty sure John was referring to me at that point. No, but this is absolutely insane. And game number 1 gave us so much drama. Seeing SJP2 taking so much flack from Cooler there and then still being able to clutch it out, get the res, get into second place, and put on so many points in game number 1. That's going to be huge leading into the next 4 games.
Yeah, if you can come out of a game where you're put in such a hugely disadvantageous position early on with that kind of result, with those kind of points on the board, you've got to keep your eyes on them moving through these games, or what they can do. They can keep the 3-man for even longer. So as we launch into game number 2 of online tournament number 6, you can see where the ship is going to be going straight across the middle of the map. And that's going to be good for some early drops on the west side of the map to get that loot up and early. And one team I want to talk about a little bit as far as heavy looting is concerned, and we were having some conversations about this, and also backed up by Matafe himself. We talked about Ad-Hoc Gaming and some of the meta shifts we're seeing a lot. And we were talking before the tournament got underway about this team and how a lot of teams will look to get their loot done as quickly as possible, get moving across the map, find their early rotation into that next circle or position where they can fight from. They don't do that. They take as long as they want to get as much loot as possible so that when they get engaged in those fights, Jameson, they're going to win them most of the time.
And they're going to love to see this circle. One of the things that compounds upon, I would say, their later rotation is for the simple fact that AHG normally drops Skyhook, and they are at least challenged by one other team. Generally, it's cooler this time around. And so they have to be a little bit more cautious about how they move through Skyhook, because any errant move can mean you go down. You run into a building that has 3 people. Here we are. Cooler is going to be the team that's also dropping over here at Skyhook with AHG. But with this circle and with the Pathfinder beacon showing us exactly the pull, hard pull to the northwest part of this map.
And that's going to be fantastic news to them, as you say. With that rotation, we see that Pathfinder beacon lighting up as well. That means Skyhook is very much going to be involved in where those rotations are going to be made. And you have to say, those rotations to the northwest of the map, some of the most treacherous and difficult to make, not only from the south side of the map, but also from the east side of the map as well, with so many teams having to work through so many difficult choke points.
Yeah, one of the more difficult positions to try and break free from is going to be on top of Trials there, where a lot of teams can hold, and you see teams basically having difficulty making this making a northern rotation through Lava Fissure and through Drill Site, and so that southern side is going to be highly contested. Luckily, that's not going to be for a while. On board with Click, though, making their push here in Tree.
Yeah, once again, it's going to be Click Esports, still former Click, I should say, excuse me, who are once again involved in a very, very early battle. We saw it in the first game, we saw it a lot of the time in online tournament number 5 as well, and you're going to see some big hits coming in with the frag grenades being dropped in, but at the moment they can't get any knocks, they can't get any reses, but we're going to hear a few shields being broken, and as X now move in, the damage is being done, and this looks like if they can get a few more shots away, it could be a clean wipe, and they should be the X-Click Esports team once again coming out on top at the start of this game.
X-Click doing a fantastic job there. As you can see, it was a breach and clear kind of take onto this building where every single member of X-Click had a different angle to toss in nades, and this early on, you don't have that Watson generator set up, and so all the projectiles are getting in. They got massive amounts of damage across to them. So great job from X-Click there.
Now we're going to jump on board with Alliance, Vapes, IPN, and Hackis. And we talked about these guys a little bit in game number 1. We had Bravo and Rain Day kind of talking through, how they've been experimenting with crypto a little bit in the midweek tournaments, but obviously going back to what has given them so much success so far. But we did a little bit of testing, weren't we, with crypto, and we got a little bit of a theory why they might be looking to bring crypto into the equation as these games potentially might move on.
Yeah, one of the strong things about crypto is, of course, that he does disable enemy traps. So that's going to be the Watson interception, not the interception pylons, excuse me, the nodes for her security perimeter, along with the toxic gas traps that come out from the caustics. The thing is, a lot of caustics can bank up and make sure that they have 6 barrels ready for the late game, but all of a sudden that's undone by one ultimate coming out from a crypto. And so in the late game, especially in the distance that we're talking about in zones 6 and 7, that basically covers the entire map and can clear out all of those traps.
And I'm excited to see if that does happen, if maybe, games 1 and 2 don't quite go the way that they would have wanted, or they find themselves in a position towards a game 5 where they might think about testing it out and just seeing if they can get some KP on the board. But another thing I'm super excited about, as we just saw Triumph Esports there setting up momentarily on the tower, is the fact that we're still seeing these meta shifts, these little changes in the team compositions over here in Europe. We just saw a Wraithless lineup, and there's a couple of those involved in this particular game. So once again, we are seeing maybe the format being something that is driving these changes in compositions for these European teams.
Shield cell here.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of testing coming out from NA, but generally I would say a lot of the testing grounds comes from EU, and we see these compositional changes often. And this is one of those compositions that just kind of helps negate a lot of the RNG of basically what is the late game, making sure you've got those kind of get out of jail free cards where you're able to reset fights with the Gibraltar bubble, but also have almost the same kind of mobility with the Pathfinder at that point.
And now just look at the top right of your screen here. We can see that it's actually going to be Hrom who's taken down early from our previous game winners. And look at this, CHM Kane, all sorts of problems. And the man who had to clutch the 1v1 towards the end of the game is going to be Rugby. And now he's in a little bit of a precarious position as the push is going to come in. But it looks like they've just about managed to hold off that push, or possibly a third party came in and tried to get involved with the time. But just as I say that, absolutely not. Our first place team from game number 1 will not be taking home back-to-back games here.
That's Gambit getting that right now. SJP2, though, over here at Trials, trying to get that extra loot. Oh, my God. He'll love to see it. Oh, gold armor, gold helmet, gold backpack. And that's going to be huge. Put that onto that Gibraltar and talk about fight resets. If you get knocked, he just throws down that bubble and you're instantly back in the fight.
Yeah, and we talked about some of the changes. We heard Bravo and Rainday mentioning some of the Season 5 changes. And even though that fast heal has been reduced, or removed, I should say, from the gold armor, the fact that you now get double the amount of HP from the shield cell or the syringe that goes in, it means that essentially you are still getting a fast heal capability. It's just not quite at the strength of what we previously saw with the gold shield. But one thing that it does do as well, it frees up inventory a lot for a lot of these players. So when you hear team comms and you hear teams talking about, I've got X amount of bats, X amount of cells, you can kind of remove a lot of those batteries and put them onto one player and use those cells and free up some space for grenades, extra ammo, things like that that are going to help you towards that end game.
Yeah, inventory management becomes a completely different game here at this point. And Purge, they've got to be kind of kicking themselves at this point. They've had this position on top of Trials this entire game, and I guess they just didn't try and go for the actual Trials loot at all. And so now they're going to be missing out on a tier 4 armor. They're going to be missing out on fast charge helmet along with that Guardian Angel backpack. And that Guardian Angel backpack is going to be huge for SJP2. Remember, SJP2 were able to come back in game number 1, take second place there, put up a lot of points, even get some kill points.
Pledge one of those teams, see French lineup here, who love to rotate early, love to get into those positions inside where they think that end circle is going to be and kind of fight from there. And you can see that by the early rotation that we do see from them. And you can usually tell that by the fact you look across their armies, you look across their loot, and maybe not the strongest armors, but I should say prioritizing that early rotation and maybe looking at the third party of fight to pick up some armor and extra loot as they move along the way. But now we're kind of seeing the period of calm, so to speak, in the game. And this is where we talk about teams posturing a little bit, Jameson. And maybe for some of those people who are watching competitive Apex for the first time, or I think, why isn't there more fighting going down? Why isn't there more action going down? Kind of break down exactly what is going through a team's comms and kind of the thought processes between the teams at these points.
Well, right now, a lot of teams have already kind of accurately located that this ring is going to continue to pull to the west right now. So even though the majority of Skyhook was in this next ring, you can see there's a hard concentration on the western building as teams were getting ready for that late game, for ring 3 even. And so right now, with teams posted up in all those buildings there, and of course, a lot of the buildings that you have here in Drill Side to the south, we're not going to see much until things really force a lot of these teams out of their buildings. So it's going to be just a lot of poking to see. There is a chance for a fight to the south side over here at Drill Site, but again, a lot of these fights kind of end up fizzling out because there are so many other teams in the immediate area that dissuade third-party pushes.
And Gambit are now going to maybe start making their way towards Skyhook a little bit. You can see they are running that Pathfinder, so they will have potentially a beacon, although even though we do have Pathfinder teams, sometimes that beacon might not be available for you to use for whatever reason. And it looks like at the moment they're kind of hedging their bets slightly here between potentially a little bit of a hard pull towards the drill site away from Skyhook. And with the unpredictability we've seen come into these end circles, I'm not too surprised to see them kind of setting up and hedging their bets a little bit more than maybe making a conscientious decision to rotate hard into Skyhook.
Yeah, I believe, I forget if it was Cooler or if it was AHD, but they had put a ping on the northern west side of the map. There's a trailer along with a couple buildings on the northern edge outside of Skyhook that teams do like to position for when they see a ring like this. And I do have the Pathfinder beacon, and it's going to continue to pull over to Trials and towards the western edge of Skyhook, which is why, like I said, teams have already posted up in positions there. No one took any buildings on the eastern side. As you can see, all those red pings right there. No one basically moved. Those deltas have been there the entire time.
And when you look at that Pathfinder beacon, and we're thinking about some of the teams that we've had locations for so far, and the likes of Team Purge up on top of that Trials area are going to be in a pretty good position to rain down shots as those teams rotate in, and that is the benefit of that early rotation. Even though you sometimes have to sacrifice loot, have to sacrifice maybe some lesser armors to get into those positions first, the fact that you are in that advantageous fight-based position where everyone else is essentially rotating into your crosshairs as they move in towards that next ring, that's where you pick up your KP. That's where you pick up that extra loot, and that is where they will be effective as far as points on the board is concerned.
And that's an excellent point, because I got a glimpse of AHG. And AHG, remember, they're a team that drops in Skyhook. They're actually holding a position on the western edge here, basically along the train tracks towards the southwest side. And so they are posturing. They're a team that do like to take these fights on the edges, on the outskirts of the ring. And right now, they are posturing to try and gatekeep and get those early kill points on the board for themselves here in game number 2.
Might be something good this way.
So now we're going to see ring number 3. In our second game of online tournament number 6, and we're going to see that North are going to have to make their way in towards Skyhook, towards that Trials area. And the difficulty is, if you're moving over from the west side of the map, from the area that they're in at the moment, really is open ground to move across with such extreme levels of height above you. Not only, of course, from that upper Trials area of the map, Jameson, but also moving into Skyhook, one of the most densely populated building areas that we have on the entirety of World's Edge.
Now, fortunately for a lot of the teams, it is continuing to pull a little bit further away and from Skyhook here, which is why we only saw about maybe a third of this lobby kind of commit to those buildings. Again, it's a safe play, and it is going to be highly populated, but because it is highly populated, like I said, that's going to dissuade a lot of people from trying to make pushes. It can be difficult, right? If you even trade away one member down, that's when you see instantly third parties wanting to come in and try to get involved in that fight. You have to be able to take clean fights, which is what AHG is doing right here, which is why they love to fight on the edge. They know that a lot of teams prioritize fighting or trying to get a position in the middle of the circle that they can safely take these isolated fights out here on the edge.
And of course, with their heavy looting technique that they try and use, they're going to be in positions usually to not only have the armor to take these fights, but as I say, the gunpowder, the ammo, everything they could possibly want to take those isolated fights. And then we're going to see Kuya, the man that you absolutely love, Jameson, getting a nail one shot there with the Sentinel to drop a shield. Almost dropped a shield, I'd say. 74 damage on that shot. But this is an interesting end circle here, and not surprised to see that team rotating towards the north, towards the tracks, like you mentioned before, because that's essentially where the high ground is around this. If it pulls away from that central mountain area where the Trials is, then they're going to have the advantage if that ring pulls even more to the north.
And that's a great call coming out from Matafe there at the end. They realized that they spent way too long here, that their opportunity to have a clean, isolated fight was no longer there, and he calls for the rotation because they understand that they have to run through that open field. But take a look, it's OG, the Outsiders, excuse me, never mind, taking damage there, going down one.
Star comes in then. You can see some shuffling in and out of that Gibby bubble, trying to get across to the teammate, but that's a little bit of a risky play. It looks like they made the decision to try and get out, and the circle is essentially the thing that is going to force them to make this decision. At the moment, Shades is going to have to get his sneakers on. Forget about the Shades. He's going to be desperately trying to beat that ring and try and get some sort of rotation in, just so he can rat out and maybe just accumulate a few placement points towards the end of this game.
And this is the exact reason why the AHG made the move when they did. If they did this any later on, they could have been in a whole world of hurt, but they were able to safely get into this cover now. If they had waited another 10 to 15 seconds, they would have had to worry about someone else pushing from their back. Instead, they have this position to keep an eye out on the ring right now to see if anyone comes in.
Well, let's jump into the comms of AHG now. You talked about how the IGL is so effective for them in Matafe. We heard from him earlier. Let's hear from him in the game.
Take a TP. Top team made TP. Don't shoot them.
Do we have a dome already?
Yeah,
I do.
I'm burning their entrance again to keep them busy. I think we have to push.
We have to make a decision. We gotta pick up KP or some shit.
But there's a team right on the edge there.
I think we just. You have TP?
No, I won't have it. Raid cracked. We could just fight inside then. I don't know.
I think we just run like here and just run north.
Okay.
We'll die from heaven.
No, we won't if we hold
They
outside.
will be busy. They will be busy.
Can we cross then? Can we cross to there right now?
Yeah, let me. Yeah. From the rock here on me.
Go. No, just cross over first. Son. Okay.
Okay, they won't tell us still.
They're shooting here.
Yeah, we need no setup here.
I mean, we need to get in. One on the still.
We got underneath though. Oh wait, no.
I don't have TP. Do you have ult? Zip it?
No. 40 seconds.
Fuck.
105 on him. He's white.
I'm pushing forward.
Yeah, we send now. We need to know macro.
Just move underneath them.
Yeah.
I'm coming. You guys gotta watch. We're gonna watch right now.
Pet is low.
Push in.
I'm dead. Fuck, game's hard.
Fucking should have got tilted so much earlier.
And the commentators curse as we jump into the comms there. Unfortunately, AHG will go down in that battle, but you could hear from the comms there, Jameson. They were in such a tough spot, and so many macro quick decisions had to be made between the three.
One of their biggest strengths, I would say, is that early game fight when they're able to isolate one. So you saw how comms broke down just a little bit and didn't have as a structured of a game plan that Mitafi normally has, especially when it comes to team fighting there. Making that move, we knew that Triumph was up on that tower the entire game, waiting for their moment, and it finally paid off for them.
Now we're going to see the Kraber in the hands of KS Winnie. They can hit a few shots here, and it's going to give them the opportunity not only to pick up KP, but really farm themselves some points, and obviously a position as well, potentially to move forward to, as we're going to see that next ring pop up. And kind of in this position, would you say they're going to try and hold this down for as long as possible before a late rotation in?
Right now, that's exactly what they need to do. They've got the weapons to work with. If they can get them knocked on Krabers, if they can try and clear out some of the teams that are here onto the south, that'll, of course, make a rotation a bit more possible. And so they need to spend the next 30 seconds trying to get as many knocks as possible. This move is going to be a difficult one because you're contesting with at least two other teams down there on the low ground with whatever team is holding inside the trailers to their north.
Now we're going to see the Wraith portal go down as well, and I'd like to see them maybe try and hit one of those Kraber shots and then make the push, not only to pick up KP, but just to put pressure on as we now jump over to another battle that's going down inside trials, and the Uber 8 shots are pretty good. Are they going to be good enough to finish the fight? No, unfortunately they are not. And Outsiders who have just been trying to recover in this game from what has been a little bit of a shaky start from them, unfortunately look like they are going to fall. But Alliance, one of our big dogs, they are still very much in this game. And speaking of big plays and teams who have been in great positions from the start of this game, it looks like Purge now finally are going to swap off of those white armors they've had for so long, and look at the loot they're going to pick up along the way.
Alliance, though, a little bit isolated as IPN is stuck out here as the Caustic has to back away. And they need to be able to stabilize because we know that Purge is just to their west right now coming out from Trials. And so they're not going to have a clean rotation. They already have someone in front of them gatekeeping them, and they'll have someone else to contest with to their west.
So Akis is going to put out that Wraith portal now. You can see just 5 squads remaining in this game. We're seeing a Pathfinder Zip go up just in front of them as well. And it looks like Purge and Alliance are going to be potentially engaging with each other here to try to find a little bit of safe ground in order to work from it. Here is the battle. Alliance are going to have to back down from this one. Akis trying to get a rotation ahead of Blade. He tries to instead double back with the Mastiff, lands some big shots, takes it out, but unfortunately he will go down to the zone. It looks like Alliance made the call there to pick up the KP instead of trying to push in and get towards that end circle.
But it's ultimately going to be Virtus Pro that ends up out on top. They were the team that were waiting out on the edge of the circle there to try and get in on this fight, and they will be able to get that. They're the ultimate victors in this fight. We're now down to 3 squads left. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, the entirety of VP, along with one other team. It looks like Triumph are still alive, so 3 trios still to battle it out.
And we're going to see here Nasty, Strafe, and Dale are going to have to move towards that end circle a little bit. They're going to be the ones who are going to have to be the aggressors. Maybe they can wait for that moment to be the perfect party, the third party in this kind of end zone position. Let's see a Zip go up here, trying to take that high ground. The Pathfinder trying to get a little bit tricky, trying to get a little bit interesting. And I love this play here from maybe trying to get up into that position to maybe drop onto that end circle, launch some nades down. It's actually VP who trying to take that high ground themselves and maybe look to make the late assault on towards those last two teams.
Yeah, Triumph just need to wait this out. They're waiting for the trades to go down as Strafe gets the first knock onto Taylor. If they see anyone from Nasty, Strafe, and Dell go down, Triumph are instantly going to go ahead and press that go button to get involved in this fight.
And we're going to see just a little period of quiet as these teams try to battle against each other, trying to take VP off of that high ground with the grenade. Taylor has fallen, like you mentioned, so it's down to Noth and PJ to try and work their way into a winning position here. And some beautiful wingman shots there, just peeking around the corner, showing a shoulder and showing some wingman bullets to the armor of the team who are currently holding up on that truck. Not doing a great job here to try and just do some damage as that ring is going to be closing, making his job a little bit easier, but it looks like, unfortunately, it is going to be VP who are dropping, and now we just have 2 squads remaining, but it goes down to 1 squad remaining as quick as you could possibly imagine, and Triumph Gaming are the team who come out on top here, James.
But we got to see what it means to be able to be that team that accurately predicts the late game circle. Triumph taking, of course, the tower on the western edge there. We had Nasky, Strafe, and Dell holding that car out into the northwest. And of course, VP were also positioned for that final late game circle. And ultimately, those kill points will come to you. Triumph were able to pick up AHG. VP getting able to pick up the points off of, I believe it was Alliance and SJP2. If you wait, the points will come.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And it was a perfect example of it there, like you said. And also an example of what we were talking about right at the start of the game and how difficult a rotation it can be towards the northwest of World's Edge. That's why we saw such, relatively few teams as opposed to we do some other end circles going into that final fight towards that first place battle. So those northwestern circles, they can be a devil, especially if you're dropping quite far away on the south side of the map. But I mean, the fact that once again we're having teams popping up in Europe and putting up big performances in this game number 2 that we didn't see in game number 1. Again, Europe just has this crazy depth, and it really does feel like there's 10 potential teams who could potentially come out on top here.
10, 15, 20, the depth of experience and, of course, just overall skill across Europe is absolutely insane. And so it becomes very difficult to predict, especially with how consistent a lot of these teams are becoming now. And it looks like going into most OTs, we definitely have a set group of players now that we expect to see, but there's still a lot of talent that can surprise us. But seeing names like Na'Vi, Alliance, Myth, along with Triumph, those kind of are becoming the staples now here in EU.
Well, congratulations to Triumph Gaming on a huge game number 2. They take home the win, but we're going to send it back over to the analysts now to break it all down.
On set, Jamerson, thank you so much, gentlemen. Fallout here, joined back alongside Ninjala to talk about game number 2, with one of the most unfortunate end circles we've seen for at least 2 of the teams in that scenario, and one of the most interesting end games we've seen with a 3-team standoff. Jayla, walk me through that finish. Walk me through what we just saw.
That finish was actually insane. Seeing the positions of all the teams and knowing only one of them had zone, it was cool to see like how the 2 of the last teams were fighting for second place. They knew that they couldn't rotate in, so it was interesting finish to that game. It was pretty funny to watch.
Yeah, in a lot of ways, those 2 teams, I think it was Virtus Pro and Nasky, Strafe, Dell, were fighting for second, with Triumph just chilling and posting up. That's probably one of the easiest 3-team finishes in a victory that Triumph has ever had, in terms of those other 2 teams just being forced to fight for second place based on the crazy rotation that had to be made. And of course, one of those 2 teams did not have a Pathfinder. I think Nasky, Strafe, Dell did not have a Pathfinder to use or to leverage. Nasky, Strafe, Dell did have a Pathfinder. Virtus Pro did not have a Pathfinder to leverage for rotations. Made for a very, very difficult situation in that late game. Ultimately, Triumph did come out on top. But rather than us talk about it, let's take a look at the final moment there so you can see how exactly things broke down in that late game fight. This is where Triumph was really just kind of posting up here late game, trying to get some shots in Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in the rotation in a prime position in circle, getting some great shots in Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, so making it even more difficult. And actually, remember, Triumph was able to get the kill on Max Strafe. VP goes down. Remember, Triumph was able to get the kill on Max Strafe. VP goes down. Virtus Pro and GSD end up fighting each other. and then the race just dies in zone to his unfortunate death. So a victory for Triumph there. So a much different type of late game than we're used to seeing, much different than game number 1, where it came down to a crazy 1-versus-1 fight. This time around, Triumph comes out on top with a win. But Jay, I'll ask you, anything else? What else from that game, especially in the early game? A lot of I know we saw a little action at Trials that we aren't typically used to seeing in competitive play. Walk me through what happened over in Trials.
It's actually pretty interesting seeing the team drop. I believe it was SJP2. They dropped at Trials, and they were able to secure some gold armor, which was actually huge. I usually don't see people land and fight the Prowlers for the loot there, but it was actually a really interesting play on their part.
You don't see it very often. So if you're a fan of Bloodhound's Trials in Apex Legends, we saw it now. What is for the first time I've seen it in competitive Apex in an online tournament at least. SJP2 gets some loot, and that helped them. They got there 2 purple shields, 1 gold shield to their name. Very well looted. I believe they're able to pick up at least a few kills. They got 7th place, and ultimately we're in a decent spot, but we're not able to use that well enough to rotate or to end up in a good position or on top. In the end here, just kind of taking a look at some of the notes I have. Triumph in first place with 8 kills. Nasky Strafendel in second place with 2 kills. Virtus Pro in third place with 6 kills. So a much different type of game, lower in the kill category and more evenly distributed kills across many teams. One team I got to point out, Purge, got 4th place with 8 kills total. So Purge has been a team that's really come out of nowhere here. I mentioned Case Swinney last game as an individual to watch or a player to watch, and Purge continues to perform as well. So I'm excited to see what the game 2 results are as we in the overall standings are. Behind them with 13 points. So another strong game coming through for Team Purge, as we see on screen right now. Virtus Pro behind them with a 13-point game. So again, Triumph, Team Purge, even VP, who we've looked out for, Nasky Strafendel right behind them. Not a lot of the teams that we had as our teams to watch, as we saw Ad-Hoc Gaming go out early. Myth got taken out early, I think by the likes of Click. A very, very interesting shakeup in game number 2 with a lot of the teams to watch. They're not necessarily performing as we saw. Jayla, I know you saw the action of how Ad-Hoc Gaming got taken out. Walk me through what happened when Ad-Hoc Gaming tried pushing during that listen-in.
Oh, yes. Ad-Hoc Gaming was pushing. I don't remember what team it was they were pushing, but
Jayla?
the team had
They lost Jayla.
high ground. And
right, my apologies here. Back on stream. Jayla, can you hear me? I can't hear you. I might be having some audio issues. Oh, that's on me. My apologies, y'all. As it looks like that is on me. Trying to get my audio issues fixed here. My apologies for the audio issue on my end, but it looks like we do have the overall standings as a result of game 2 ready. So let's go ahead and jump into that. Sorry if I cut you off there, Jayla, because I can't hear you do too.
That's okay, no worries.
Not sure exactly what it is, but I'll try and get that fixed ASAP on my end. But let's take a look at the overall standings. Team Purge in first place overall. So I mentioned them. They got 4th place that last game, but popped off with some kills. And instead of CHMK, instead of a lot of these top teams, it's actually Team Purge currently sitting with the lead in first place and 31 points. So a huge showing so far for Team Purge. The question is, can they keep it up? Can they continue with the same performance that they've had here in games 1 and games 2? A solid start for Team Purge so far. And then Jayla, I'll throw it back to you again. In regards to, you mentioned Ad-Hoc Gaming got taken out early. A couple other teams, CHMK got taken out as well by the likes or the hands of, I believe it was Gambit who took out CHMK in that scenario. So interesting shakeup in terms of how things are broken down to start in game number 1 and game number 2. In the end, it's going to be Team Purge currently sitting in first place. I'm really looking forward to seeing, hey, can Ad-Hoc Gaming bounce back with Matafe? Unfortunate caster's curse with the listening right there. Can a team like Gambit, who's won an online tournament in the past, or Alliance, who we haven't seen a whole lot of, pop up as well? A lot of key questions that we're looking to see answered here going into game number 3. Which teams will bounce back? Which teams will make a comeback here going into games 3 and 5? So I'm interested to see how things are going to go down here in this one. And obviously games 1 and 2, it's all Purge all day. It looks like game number 1. And sorry, my apologies, y'all. I'm having some audio issues on mine. So again, we're running a cloud-based online broadcast, and I think we're having some audio issues on mine. So my apologies, y'all, for that, as we're trying to get that back up and running here on our end. But we'll be jumping into game number 3 here in just a moment. About a minute 30 seconds left as we get ready to jump to game number 3. And that's going to be launched and underway in here just a moment. So to break down the action and to throw it to the folks whose audio is actually working, so my apologies for that mistake on my end, I'll throw it over to our casters. It's Bravo and Co. Bravo, take it away.
Hey, thanks so much, Fall. Yes, indeed. And now I am joined by the man, Hotzik. So excited to get some games in with you, Hotzik. You and I have been watching the action, and so far it's pretty interesting because the top of the European table, you and I were just taking a look, actually is the bottom of the top 20 in Europe. So we could have some pretty cool results here coming out of OT6.
I mean, yeah, it's like I've been saying in a lot of the past tournaments, it's so hard. Like the overall European region of like the top teams, there's just so many really, really good teams that it's almost really hard to perform consistently. And there's very few teams that perform consistently in Europe. And that's just a testament to how difficult the region is.
Absolutely. Yeah. You and I have been kind of watching over these past tournaments. And that's one of the first things that we talked about several tournaments ago is in Europe, we did have a story of lack of consistency. And you could even say with teams like LG, Weigers, et cetera, absent from this tournament, we're still seeing opportunities for teams to come up and prove themselves here. Excited to see what game number 3 is going to hold. If you're just joining us, games 1 and 2 were pretty fantastic and consistent results, most notably from the sides of CHMK and Purge right now. After 2 games, it's Purge in first place with 31 points and CHMK in second with 22.
Yeah, absolutely. And some notable teams right there. I mean, CHMK obviously one of the teams that won the last tournament. Triumph has been one of the few teams that's been pretty consistent across the region. Purge, even though I think they played under several different names, I could be wrong about that, but they've been a veteran team as well. Nasky, Strafe, Dell, and of course Virtus Pro, all have been very, very consistent performing teams. And again, that's very difficult to do in a region as good as and as strong as this one.
Absolutely, yeah. GSD coming in here in their semifinal in seventh place in OT5 coming in 7th place, but coming into this tournament here, first place in their semifinal. It's no surprise really to see great results from Triumph as well because they were able to place second right behind GSD in their semifinal. But here we go, folks, getting ready for game number 3 for the European side. If you're just joining us, this is the Apex Legends Global Series, and we are jumping into our 3rd game for our European final. 20 squads entered. Of course, at the end of the day, we will only have one that will sit atop the throne as we're starting things off here with VP. They currently sit in 5th place with 18 points.
Yeah, VP is one of my personal favorite teams that I've just been a fan of since the start of Apex. Not necessarily the most mechanically gifted, and I'm not slandering them by any means. They're absolutely a strong team, just with aim just as good as any other team. But one thing that really shines about VP is just how smart they are. You always find them taking the right fights, being in the right position, and acting accordingly on that. They're not a team that's super brawly that gets in your face, but they are certainly a team that if you know where a circle is going to land, you can expect them to be in one of the strongest spots for sure.
Absolutely. As we see things pulling south central here right now on sorting, tree, as well as a tiny bit of harvester for that pull. Hutzik, before we get into a little bit more about these teams, anything you're seeing on that beacon in terms of where you think this one might go for a final zone?
Absolutely. 3 places stand out to me almost immediately. The little tip south of Harvester is one of them. The little, I guess, train bridge west of sorting facility. There's a little ending right kind of on that double elevation there. And then another one is south of that train track there's like that big open water area that ends right by like those little dome buildings. That's also one of the most common ones we've seen in these tournaments. So I'm shooting for at least one of those three, and I'm sure most pros are probably reading something very similar.
Absolutely. So we can expect teams to really get set up on places like Western sorting, that southern tip of Harvester and the height that's right around that southern tip, and even holding some of the tree buildings as long as they can. But look for teams to hold those locations as they slowly go in, and wouldn't be surprised to see early rotate teams hold that down. Now we're taking a look at SJP2 here, all the way up at Skyhook up north. They are not within the top 5 after 2 games. However, they were in third coming off of game number 1. So they're going to need a big middle game here in game number 3 to make sure that they stay within the top of the table.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it was the last tournament we saw Denze with that really sick 1v2 in endgame circle north of Capital. So they've been a really fun team to track. They've certainly caught my attention since that particular play. Again, another team that doesn't seem all that very scrappy, but they definitely are usually in the right position, as we see Dell and Strafe getting a knock right here on Reddit.
Absolutely. Now some of the outsiders there find themselves in trouble after the very fast rotation from GSD down into the ridge, already facing sorting and making sure to make that damage count early as they're able to pick up 2 there. They're going to also heal, and we'll see exactly how this will go. Let's take a look at their side. They have made it just into this building here, just north of sorting, and now going to try to make sure that they can gatekeep here, make sure no one's able to zip across.
Yeah, it's a rough situation for them, losing one already. On top of, they can't really fight that much for the banner. They're going to have to make the decision here purely because of their armor. One had white Evo and one had just standard white armor. So they're going to have to make a decision on, do they fight for that banner? Either way, it's going to slow their rotation no matter what, and fighting as 2 is always hard for sure.
And now also looking at Gambit, they do have, as we were talking about just in the beginning, those Western sorting buildings are going to go very fast. We're talking about the end of the banana, westernmost buildings, even the silo building toilet, all of those are going to be grabbed very quickly. And Gambit looking to do some poke damage. We see a little bit of wingman, a little bit of bow play coming in from them. They're going to be comfortable for a while here, Hodsig, and wait to see how things net out and really just gatekeep this area.
Yeah, so this is one of for the circles that most of these teams are probably reading, that they're anticipating. Gambit probably has the best spot in the circle immediately. That building is so difficult to siege, because if anyone tries to push it and tries to take that position, they get shot at by everybody else that is hungry for kill points. And one thing to note as well, whenever we go back to Gambit, is because they're taking that high ground, they're obviously going to be sniping across long distances. One thing to note when you take a building like this, where you have a lot of ground to cover and a lot of range, it's always important to take long-range weapons with you. Snipers, wingman, even you saw one of them, I forget which one exactly, I think it's wingman R3. So your weapon choice is always important, and it seems like Gambit came to the house ready to go with the appropriate weapons, so props to them.
Absolutely. Now, also speaking about exactly how things are going to net out at Harvester, we know this southern tip of Harvester is not only going to be an area where teams will play, we're also, of course, expecting to see them in the normal spots as well as the Snake, but really this southern tip of Harvester and the height that is just to the south, you mentioned it, that could be where we actually end the game, because we've seen not only an ALGS play, but tons of scrims and simply playing that we often do see on that height, that little hill. We could see things converge there. So now we're going to see the side of CHMK for just a moment, as they're also making their way now. Based on what we're seeing here, do you expect CHMK to set up here, Hudsick, or maybe try to make a more comfortable move to somewhere actually in Harvester proper or sorting proper?
No, I think they're honestly, I think they're just going to be vibing out here, because they're right by where one of the circles potentially ends, and even if it doesn't end there, they're right in the middle of where the other 2 circles that I called where it could probably end. So they have one of the best spots in terms of just playing position. It's not the greatest spot in terms of kind of like keeping an area. Like, one thing you always want to consider in the spots that you hold is that you have control of the area around you, either in terms of grabbing information or in terms of well, I thought his alliance is actually pushing hard on the team here. So
absolutely. Alliance trying to make the move from Geyser through this choke into Lava City North. Some good damage here coming into IPN as well. They will get that a limb there. That's going to be on Horizon as well. They also took Zanma down on their way through, so they will continue to make this route here, and so far so good for the side of Alliance.
Oh, we see another Click actually taking down Outsiders, at least 2 out of 3 of them. Or I guess the remaining of them, they got the full team wipe on that, so good on them. VP here holding a really, again, not surprised at all, holding a really strong high ground, just playing the smart game, playing for information. I think one of the things that most people don't realize about how important high ground is, it's not just to control exactly, and, try to keep people off. Obviously it's good elevation to shoot down at people, but the biggest thing realistically about high ground in a battle royale is your ability to gather information on where every other team is, because it's that information that allows you to rotate blindly, which circles back to my point that I was making about that house we were just talking about a little bit ago. It's a strong spot positionally in terms of you might get the late game there, the one that's down underneath the train tracks, but it's not a good spot in terms of getting information on the teams around you. So most of your rotations are going to be relatively blind. So that's a little bit rough. We see SJP2 taking a little bit of a joyride into the circle.
I was going to say, riding the edge of the circle all the way through the train. We'll have to see exactly where they disembark, where their station of choice will be, if they're going to ride it straight through the tunnel and pray that no one does, that no one's holding the exact ground that they decide to jump out. It might be a thermal station exit for them, and we're getting a conductor's view of their disembarkment of this train. It looks like pings are going down here, so we should see, as this train does come to a halt, that they will pop out here and jump right in. And talk about a good way to get out of the zone there, Hodzik, as they will now set up in thermal station for just a moment.
Let's go this way.
Yeah, absolutely. This is actually one of the reasons I really like World's Edge personally over Kings Canyon, is small things like that. I think it's so cool because you don't always catch it, but a lot of teams do utilize the train when they know they don't have a way in, because if you are on the outside of the circle, you're more than likely going to be gate kept by the teams right at the edge. The train is a free ticket, quite, pun intended. It's a free ticket into whatever part of the circle you want. Now, granted, it's a blind rotation. You'll be going into areas you're not sure where teams are, but it's a lot better than being gate kept. So it gives you a little bit of time to outplay there.
Right, and it does give the teams that might be blocking those areas, right, as long as you take the angles that they did within the train itself. CHMK, though, finding some damage here inside the very tip of Banana. They need to be careful here. Based on that, it looks like we know it's going to be in the feed. Caustic coming in now, as Ronnie is the one that needs to make sure he's able to fight from low, but lots of damage coming in on him as well. Needs to be careful. Rugby also quite low, and Sonya, no shields at all. Rugby is going to start a med kit, but cancel it now, so they are just going to try to hold this area down for just a second. Keep in mind, CHMK is your second place team here, so they need to be careful.
Yeah, this is such an awkward fight because you're just basically waiting to be pushed by a Caustic. It's so hard to fight against a Caustic when you're in a building like this, and it seems like exactly that is happening. They're getting slowly choked out. Rugby going down. The last two on their last leg. It's not looking good for them, but this is Caustic for you.
That's right, and that's actually Major Pushers that is pushing them in the feed now, as Ronnie's going to be able to pick up that kill. Sonya, to see you able to get shields off, was not able to finish that med. Good wing shots, though, and in the end, they will win that out. Dome down right away. Immediately, they will get everyone up. CHMK will take down Major Pushers, who tried a major push of their own there with the gas, and in the end, they're able to hold a pretty great accomplishment for CHMK, Hotsick, because if you talk about tight interior spaces with not many ways out, that building specifically in sorting, you can imagine, can be a horrible place to have to fight caustic gas with only those two doors out.
Oh, absolutely. And it's so awkward for both the teams pushing and the teams defending, kind of like jiggle peeking that doorway. There's so much awkwardness in that fight, but a really good use of both stairwells by CHMK there. You saw the Gibraltar just basically come with a massive flank on them. It seemed like it was only two of them from the Major Pushers. I'm not sure if there was a third or if they lost one, but definitely really good use of the stairwells and flanking around by CHMK. This is why they are one of the best EU teams, hands down.
Absolutely. That was Nollywan, by the way, in that Caustic, as we saw a little bit of information in the feed. At least we know one more Caustic playing here in Europe. But now, once again, looking at Triumph there in third place with 22 points. Keep in mind, they were not in the top 5 after game number 1, so to be now in third place after game number 2, they certainly are riding that momentum and holding some pretty safe low ground here. Of course, they're a little bit fenced up, and they're going to have a lot of rotation opportunities. Also, a lot of gatekeeping opportunities, Hotsick, for them. If we talk about the fact with teams kind of falling into that open area, they will have a lot of opportunity for KP and ideally not have to move themselves.
Yeah, so that's also another one of those spots that's like that. That's very, very strong. A lot of the pro teams realize that. They know that spot's pretty strong. It's going to be in for a while. And it's hard to siege because, again, anyone that pushes you, everybody is just going to come at you.
Absolutely. Here's another train rotation. Looks like Na'Vi might be aware of the train rotation, and we are going to have a little bit of a battle here on the train. Not something we get to see in ALGS play all the time. Actually, 9M's taking some early damage, so has to drop back to heal. Claws also needs to be careful, but Na'Vi trying to hold this area now. Let's see who can get the first one. 9M does take down Jellied Corn. Now they're going to fly in and fully siege the train. Mastiff is out as well. That second shot's going to come through. Can they get the second knock? Yes, indeed. Denze will go down looking for the third, and it is not a clean wipe. It's actually going to be SJP2 picking up the next one here on Faizu. So now it's going to be up to Claws to make sure that they win that out. Yes, indeed, it will. No, and a third party comes in, if I'm not mistaken, in the end, and SJP2 is the one that takes down Na'Vi in the end. But like you said, we did see Purge being the third party there, Hudzik.
That was really surprising. I think it seemed like SSJP2 stopped the train there, which would make sense if they wanted to rotate, but given the circle, you know, it's not like they're going to be grabbing any spots in the immediate area. So very interesting decision to stop the train. Obviously ended up costing them there. I mean, I probably would have just kept going, riding it into sorting, but I think they probably just wanted to maybe book it on foot. They probably thought maybe a lot of teams started rotating already. Who knows? But interesting decision. Good fight by Na'Vi until unfortunately they were really, really low health, and it was a little bit sloppy, but it was a good win for them, at least picking up some KP. Good third party by Purge.
And now here, take a look at Alliance now. In trouble. Akis is forced to deal more damage coming in here. Needs to be very careful. Only one up, and not much in the way of shields or HP. Going to desperately try to fly out. Is able to get away. Looks like he will get this med off, as there are no sightlines into him. Both of his teammates will be full wiped, and now we're also taking a look at VP, who has the top southern part of this sorting station. They're still quite north, and they know they're going to eventually have to rotate, but right now just looking for that long-range poke damage.
Yep, and like I said, they aren't one to just, they're not the very brawly team. They just play the smart high ground. They play with snipers a lot. You see them a lot with guard rifle. I believe they know it's gonna, it seems like the circle's pulling it more towards sorting now. So they are in actually a prime spot. There's a lot of options they have to go from that factory. So again, really smart play by VP.
Absolutely. Now here with Stanny, they're finishing off what they started. That will be Hawkus there. It does eventually go down. 12 squads remaining here. And these guys are just going to slowly play this out, wait for that next rotation here with 10 seconds on the ring close.
Yeah, a bit of a bloody game so far. I did not expect this many teams to already be dead. But then again, rotating through Harvester, I'm pretty sure a lot of teams read the initial circles similar to how I predicted, because you saw a lot of teams dying on those rotations. And now we actually get us pulled south a little bit towards Dome, still a little bit in sorting. I think this is one that's catching a lot of teams off guard, and that's usually when a lot of teams get caught off guard, they tend to panic rotate a little bit, and this is how you see a lot of people just kind of all of a sudden like dying like this. There's a lot of real estate in this circle for a lot of teams to still be alive, but I think a lot of teams got caught in those rotations, not really sure where the circle is going to end. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting one for sure.
Absolutely, and more loot than we're used to seeing on the train there, certainly, as Myth finds a little bit of a gold mine, and they're going to be able to get potentially a few extra heals off, and right now, for the moment, be able to swap to perhaps some better armors as well. Things pulling here. I was wondering if we might pull a little bit towards, this is kind of like just a weird open area north of the dome choke that we often see, and that's where things are going to end. It's going to create the most stress, Hotsick, on the teams that were coming from that northwest. Anyone that was still near Harvester, any of the teams, I can't remember exactly who it was that we saw gatekeeping, but anyone who was playing the western part of Geyser actually is going to have a slightly easier route than the teams that work in the northwest. But now taking a look at Purge here, they're going to have to fight, and it's not going to be an easy one. That will be Purge going down in the feed as well. And like you said, Hotzik, teams are having to make particularly difficult pushes now to sorting banana, right? There's only so much interior space here. It's mostly sorting banana, and the rest is going to just be open along those tracks and the northern part of the dome exterior wall.
Yep, pretty much the team that's got it good right now is the team that's probably chilling in that RV south of sorting. Not the easiest place to hold necessarily, but in circles like this, again, you always have to take into account if there's a lot of teams dead when you don't expect it. It's usually because of an awkward circle pull that forced a lot of teams to rotate in ways they weren't comfortable. And the team that's in the RV now, I'm sure, is probably are chilling. They probably only have to worry about maybe one other team around them, but they're probably look to see them probably picking up a lot of kill points as this circle. I'm assuming will pull a little bit more outside of sorting. So they're just going to be looking to rack up a lot of kill points as all these teams are going to be fighting to just stay alive.
Absolutely. It's a great an area of the map I know you've highlighted quite extensively in terms of your VODs views and areas. That RV that is just to the south, going to be a lot of opportunity, assuming a team is able to establish presence there. A lot of opportunity for a team to be able to hold that as we're now taking a look for just a moment, pretty close to that area here. This is a little bit further east, but we're still looking at the damage that can come in here just from the north of that dome choke.
Yeah, pretty much every team here that's on the south end of the circle, they all know what's going to happen. Look at all those players that are in sorting.
Yeah.
All of these teams that are on the southern end of the circle might call it a treaty for now. They're all going to be looking in 1 minute when this circle closes. They are all going to be looking for kill points on those teams, scrambling to just rotate. And because a lot of these teams, we don't hear it right now, but a lot of these teams, I'm sure right now in sorting, are probably calling to just play for kill points because that's all you can do. They know there's a lot of teams around them. It's a death rotation.
Absolutely. CHMK is actually getting pushed here. 2 players are going to go down, and now there's at least a third party, so I believe that's going to be now just Rugby alive race for CHMK as we take a look in the feed, and that might be it for them. Yes, CHMK will go down. They exit in 10th. Got pushed by at least 2 squads, but just as fast as we say that, now over to Myth on the tracks here as they are fighting and looking pretty good in the way of all 3 on purple shield. So going to try to play this one out and try to get into the late game as well. Myth is our European number 2 right now, but not in our top 5 so far after 2 games.
Yeah, and Myth definitely a strong winner. I believe OT4 winner might be OT5. So many of these OTs, I'm starting to lose track of them, but yeah, they're going to keep the RV team busy, but Myth definitely needs to make sure that they are keeping aware of their north side here in the next coming seconds. So they actually might get pinched by both teams scrambling from the north and the team in the RV. Now, that little truck in front of them is in, but it's not a lot of cover from a lot of... They can still get shot from a lot of different angles, so they're going to have to keep a lot of eyes open on the next rotate.
Absolutely going to need to be very careful here. And like you said, not a lot of room to play with for these teams, but still 9 squads left in the game. And we're still waiting here as these teams momentarily are going to be the ones that are forced out of sorting. If anyone still has each little nook and cranny, they are now making that rotation. It's going to be happening right above Myth, actually. And this is an example. It's going to be Taylor of VP, very little left in gold armor. And actually, I was going to say, right when he drops down, this should be it for him. He's expecting the shots to come in. He knew they were going to happen. And he will go down. That will be VP exiting. Now 8 squads left, just like that 7, as Cooler goes down in the feed as well. Now here's Myth. Somehow only Amaz is the one left here, as we do see a teammate going down. Needs to be careful. Dome is out as well from Sharp, so he's going to try to throw down some shots, maybe get a little bit more cover from the track as well. Going to try to get this finish. The teams are still flying in from that sorting area. Here's going to be a fast bat coming in from us.
Yep, like I said, this is a death rotate. I'm sure most of those teams are just playing for kill points right now, just trying to get whatever they can, whatever placement high or whatever 1 kill point they can get now. And now that the dust has settled a little bit, Myth and the team in the RV are going to be going back at it again with a little rivalry, because now this next circle, these 2 are going to be clashing immediately with each other. So it's important that they take each other out as Gibraltar goes down here with the Kraber.
Yep, needs to be careful here. It's just Ahmad there. Well, I'm going to go to the north side. They are the ones that were holding RV here, and they are just going to hold this ground, trying to rack up as many KP and placement points as they can. Poking outside, though, on the team shot. Actually, it's going to go down. That's going to be Mondi, who goes down to maybe able to pick up that kill on the push. Didn't exactly catch whose kill we were on that. I wouldn't be surprised. Yes, it was Triumph, and 5 squads left there. Gambit going down to GSD as well. Still trying to push over across this area is going to be limitless as they're trying to make something happen from the tracks. They cannot. 4 squads left as Myth continues to pick up kills in the feed.
I think 3 of them are on this side of the circle too. I think only one. I'm guessing there's only 1 squad in the actual zone, which is interesting. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, the people that are comfortable, they try to third party. All these other teams that are just trying to make it in. Ardeki doing a little crazy bit of a rat play. This works out. He can actually get a lot of placement points. Wow, what a spot.
What a spot. Might be the finest zip to a rat spot we've seen in ALGS play. He's going to be hanging out there, but he'll be fine for just a moment. We got to put our sights on GSD. It's just going to be straight, as well as Nask and Gel is out. So it's going to be them fighting against these last 3 squads. 2 players go down from Myth, though, so this could be our final moment of this game. Great shot there, wing, and a crack here from Strafe, but nothing on the finish. They're not able to get the angles that they were hoping for. Still 3 squads remain, and we do know that we still have a rat up top as well. Now it's going to be Nasky, who's actually taking a lot of damage. They are getting pushed here in what could be a 2v3. Strafe will go down. Can Nasky make something happen? Nasky has now picked up the 1. Looks like he might be finished here. He will eventually go down. Yes, indeed. Take a look at Hardeki up top. Clearly, do not have an angle on him. Will he win this game? He gets the crack. They're going to drop down. Should be able to finish this and might only have a gold res to finish if he's able to get this kill. Good damage still coming in. Several reloads on the 301, and I think this is going to be a Gambit 1v1 here. Can he get the win here? Gets the break. Should be able to pop out with the wing and Hardeki for Gambit.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? Hotsick with the win. One of the best moments we have seen in ALGS play in a while. What a moment from Hardeki. You and I were both thinking the same thing. I heard you say it. As soon as that zip got him into that notch, he was in a good place to close out that game.
And it was the perfect. I mean, it was insanely smart. I don't know if everyone caught it, but as that circle was closing, he actually there was a team in between him and that zip. He actually rotated behind them into the zone to get to that zip. He just said, "Screw you guys. You have fun fighting over there. I'm gonna hit the zip." He gets into that nook, and the most perfect script was laid out for him. A very, very sloppy fight on the remaining 2 teams down there. Basically, you laid it out for him to win the game beautifully. I mean, that was just such a smart play, which I knew he was going to lock in second when he was in that little nook, but to see him actually pull out the win on that too, really just insane heads-up play.
Absolutely. Timed it perfectly, like you had said, and then able to not only made sure that the team shots that were happening below, like you said, they were sloppy. We did not see the side of Myth finishing those kills together. That opened up the opportunity for Hardeki to drop down and also win that 1v1. Guys, it was a great game number 3 for Europe, and of course, lots more action to come. To break down that last one, let's go ahead and throw over to our analysts.
Thank you so much, Bravo and Hotsick. And wow, what a finish. I almost wish you could have had Jayla in my comms live as we were screaming at the fact that Hardeki some way survived on the very last tick on that zip line and then perfectly gets placed into a rock and an edge. We're screaming there's no way that he's possibly going to win this game as he rats his way to a first place finish. Typically, you'll rat your way to a second place finish, but he's able to rat his way to a first place finish with a clutch 1 versus 2 at the end. Jayla, your thoughts, your reactions?
That was actually like unbelievable. 10,000 IQ. I think that when the last 2 teams were fighting, they were like, oh, maybe there's somebody with like a gold knockdown. They weren't thinking it was like a person ratting on the side of the wall. That was actually insane. I would say that was probably my favorite thing that I've seen today.
Undoubtedly. Hands down, the best thing I've seen. I think that was probably my favorite thing I've seen in any Apex Legends Online tournament. The craziest finish I've seen. Typically, again, we've never seen a rat like that who's hiding and just trying to survive as the last member alive, waiting for their teams to finish. Usually you survive to a second place finish, but he's able to perfectly time the third party. Looks like the final moment is ready. Let's go ahead and take a look at those last moments right there as Hardeki from Gambit is able to have a much needed clutch. He's just teeing off right now, recognizing I can do damage and I can contribute to this fight. Finally, Nasky, Strafe, and Del go down, and it leads into 1 versus 2. He knocks 1, drops perfectly. That's exactly how you want to play that fight. Wait for the opportunity to get that 1 versus 1 and to give yourself a breathing chance. Somehow gets the kill on the guy far across and then wins the 1 versus 1 with ease. What a finish. Last wingman shot. Flick comes through right after. Hardeki does it, and he does it with style. That was an absolutely insane finish, Jayla.
I can only imagine like what's going through his head when he's 1v1ing that Watson. He's like, dude, I could win this game. Like that has to be the best feeling, like knowing you got that far for your team.
Yeah, he's either thinking confidence, I'm going to win this is going to happen, or he's absolutely losing his mind, scared and nervous and anxiety going through the roof right there. One of the 2 things, but something tells me Hardeki's been doing it for a while on this Gambit squad. Gambit's won a championship before. Something tells me he was calm, cool, and collected. I mean, I can't believe what we saw right there in terms of how things finished. A big, big win for Gambit overall. As we're looking at the standings, they get first place in placement, but they only had 6 kills, so we'll see if they do get first place in overall standings. We'll get those standings ready as soon as we can. North got second place as it was Hardeki able to win the 1 versus 1 against North. Nasky, Strafe, and Del with a 7-kill third place finish. So again, we see some solid play from Nasky, Strafe, and Del, but finally it's one of our teams to watch that come out on top. It's Gambit Esports that we identified early on. Here are the results overall. 18 points for them. North with an 18-point game as well. So it looks like they're going to split a first-place finish. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell right behind them with 14 points. And then Myth, a team that we've talked a lot about, that's won a tournament in the past, one of the most consistent teams throughout the entirety of our first 6 online tournaments. They're going to pop off with a solid game number 3 and a 4th-place finish, but they didn't do much in games 1 and 2, so they're going to need a huge pop-off game in 4 and 5 if they want to come out on top. We're, of course, going to jump into the standings as soon as we have them for the overall standings to see where that places everybody. But again, a crazy finish for Gambit Esports. Let's go ahead and take a look at the overall standings as well. Finish for Gambit Esports. Let's go ahead and take a look at the overall standings as well. And in the end, it is Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in first place. Thanks to their consistent play, they're going to sneak past Team Purge and have a first place finish. But look at this, Jayla. From first place all the way down to 7th place, only 11 points total separate these teams. This is anyone's game.
It actually is anyone's game. These are probably my favorite types of games to watch because you never know until the last game, like who is going to take the win.
Yeah, that's so true. Last time around, we saw CHMK really dominating throughout. I mean, it was like a 3-man race to see, or a 3-team race to see who could come out on top. This time around, it is a 6 or 7 team race after 3 games to see who can come out on top. And the teams that are leading are not the teams we're used to seeing. You know, we talk about the Cinderella story. I wouldn't call Nasky, Strafe, and Dell a Cinderella team by any means. They've been playing consistently. They've been qualifying and getting top 10 almost every single week. They haven't had the top 2, top 3 finish that they're looking for. And I know I talk to Nasky often via DMs on Twitter, the young man from Scandinavia who's so incredibly confident in himself and his team. He approaches every game so well, learns from each game. Can this be the one? Can this be the tournament where Nasky, Strafe, and Dell finally secure a top 2 or top 1 finish? That's the question. Let's go ahead and take a look at the highlights from game number 3. There are quite a few highlights. Jayla, I know you were telling me about some mid-game fights that went down between CHMK and Major Pushers. We'll see if we get in the highlights here. And then also between Navi and SJP2. Here was a fight early on between SJP2. Walk me through it.
Yeah, this was like
right?
interesting fight. They were on the train. They actually had set up on the train and stopped the train in front of Navi, so it was pretty interesting. Unfortunately, Navi did get third party on the train after the fight by Purge, but this is one of the more interesting fights that I've seen.
Undoubtedly, and you mentioned when we were chatting earlier too. You're not sure if you would have necessarily chose to set up on a train. We haven't seen that happen very often.
I definitely would have chosen to set up on the train, but it worked out well for Purge.
And then, Hardeki on the Purge just posted him out. We all know how that one ended. 1 versus 1. He's playing his cover. He's playing his angles. He's playing his reloads and timing so incredibly well. His movement's so good. And boom, it's the last wingman shot he needs to hit. What a clutch play. That one has to go down for the ages as one of the most clutch and best plays we've seen in Apex since the infamous play from Ksania in Poland where he clutched that 1v3. I don't know if it was as dramatic as that, but still, a 1v2 clutch from Hardeki, a big clutch as well. And I'm sure you remember that play from Ksania back in Poland. This definitely ranks up there.
For sure, that was
Crazy
definitely one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, agreed. That's what Apex is known for. Nothing but great moments and clutch plays. As it's you have to be as clutch as it possibly gets in those late game fights with so many teams at bat. Looks like we have a tweet from Alliance who's looking to support their group. Let's go ahead and take a look at Alliance here, supporting their squad. Let's go. Hashtag ALGS online tournament number 6 grand finals are live. No man gets left unstinked with the caustic meta team that is arguably one of the top teams in the world. Hashtag long live Alliance, hashtag Apex Legends. Big shout out to the Alliance GG and the Alliance Esports organization for supporting. I'm excited to see what this Alliance squad can do. Currently sitting in 10th place or 11th place, I believe. So we're going to need a big type of play here from Alliance in games 4 and 5. We've seen them play so consistently throughout. I'm excited to see what Alliance can do. I know you love yourself some caustic meta as well, Jayla.
I wouldn't say I love it, but I'm excited to see it. I definitely don't like playing against Caustic, but I like that they're changing things up and people are going to have to play differently because of it.
Yeah, that's a good call. It changes up the meta, shakes things up a little bit. That's what you like to see. And honestly, right now is probably the healthiest. And a big shout out to my man, the EMEF on Twitter. We've been chatting. He put together some great materials for the talent team. We were chatting. He said this is like the healthiest Apex Legends meta in terms of legends. We've seen a variety of different comps. You see 2 teams running Caustic, Major Pushers and Alliance, multiple Gibraltar teams, multiple Pathfinder teams, and so on and so forth. So very, very healthy meta right now, and that's what you love to see. That's for sure. Let's go ahead and take a look into the overall summer circuit, which you guys have heard was recently announced. The Apex Legends Summer Circuit and Super Regionals schedule will be starting on June 21st. So starting June 21st, things are going to be shaking up quite a bit. We're going to be moving to the Super Regionals. Regions are going to be combined, and we're going to have more of a narrative and a story as teams that get top 10 from each regional will automatically qualify for the second regional, and so on and so forth. Teams over time will be earning ALGS points and will be earning a qualification spot for the playoffs. It'll be later on towards the end of the summer. So a lot at stake with the summer circuit. Make sure to check out the details in the playbook. We're excited and gearing up for the summer circuit coming up here on June 21st to kick things off. We are getting ready for gameplay, about a minute away from gameplay starting. Make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. Would love to hear your thoughts. Your tweets can be featured at Fallout with 2 T's, at Ninjala. We'd love to hear your thoughts throughout, and we can read some of your tweets and check it out. I'll be checking Twitter here in just a moment. Of course, make sure to follow at Play Apex on all things Twitter, social media, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. It looks like we are getting ready to throw to our casters who are going to be breaking down game number 4. Let's go ahead and send it over to our casters. It's going to be Onset and Jamerson. Take it away, gentlemen.
So game 4 is almost ready, Jameson, and I'd say we've probably got about 7 or 8 teams who are still very much in the hunting here for potentially picking up online tournament number 6 as a championship. But we have to give huge credit there to Gambit Esports and the way that they closed out that game. A huge individual play by the Wraith to somehow come out of that sneaky position. I've never seen that one before. Something maybe just kept up the sleeve for online tournament number 6 with the win.
That's absolutely correct, especially with the position that North were holding. Generally speaking, that is a very strong position, but for different circles. But we had an amazing pull over to the eastern edge of that ring. A lot of teams were expecting, you saw the positioning coming out from a lot of teams, taking the southern side or basically a lot of these positions south of Harvester, west of Sorting Factory. But North just had the read. They were in a prime position to win that out, but Gambit able to clutch it. That was huge.
A huge clutch from Gambit Esports means they have now moved up to 3rd place in the overall standings so far. They're sat on 28 points. The teams who are in front of them, Team Purge on 33, and Naski, Strafe, and Dell with a strong finish in that last game, top of the leaderboard at the moment on 34. But we can go all the way down to 9th place, I believe, here, where we have Myth on 16 points, and we know how many points you can accumulate with a decent finish, with a decent KP game. So you have to say there's still, like we always talk about, real room here for all these teams to move around and make a run in this game number 4.
Yeah, without one team just dominating the lobby and just kind of running the table, it's great to see that we do have a very spread out kind of spread points right now as yeah, like you said, all the way down to 9th, even with Myth down there with 16 points. With 2 games left, there is a huge window for a lot of teams to just have massive games to really bring this back and put themselves in contention for top 3.
And we'll certainly be keeping our eyes out as well here on World's Edge for any of those teams who potentially run into each other or have an early battle on rotation. Because, as we say, even though there's a lot of points to make up here, one thing you can do is if you have an opportunity to potentially get in a fight with one of those teams who's in a position who's ahead of you in the leaderboards and you can take them down, not only is that points to you, but you are restricting massively your opponent's opportunity to extend their lead. But just looking at this second circle, we can see from the Pathfinder beacon, it looks like Thermal Station is once again going to be a hub of activity in our game number 4.
Yeah, and this is one of those circles that somehow the second one even continues to pull further down to the southwest. So it leaves the possibility of having that pocket in the southwest open. But I imagine a lot of teams are really going to try and fight over the main tower in Thermal Station proper. That's where you can fight for a lot of kill points. And I think that's what teams need to kind of prioritize at this point. The kill points are going to be the major difference maker, regardless of placements.
So SJP2's currently starting their looting over here in Skyhook. They're going to have a heck of a trek on their hands to get across the map to where that end circle is going to be. But I just want to highlight the importance of the Pathfinder. We talk about it a lot, and that passive, being able to use the beacon to get that information, even with the nerfs that we saw to the grapple. And, there was a lot of discussion over, was it too much for Pathfinder? Is he going to be as viable as he previously was? The reason we still see him so vital in the competitive game, if you compare that first circle that we saw that encapsulated so much of the map still, in comparison to the Pathfinder beacon, giving that second circle on the map you can see why it is so vital, why it is still such a big part of these teams' compositions moving forward in competitive play.
Yeah, a lot of the major change now with that 35-second cooldown on his grapple is just that you have to understand what kind of fight you're getting into, as grappling into a fight is now a whole full-on commit into one. And so you gotta realize, hey, this is a fight that we have to win, we have to go in, and you send that Pathfinder in. No longer does he have the capability to get into a fight, take some damage, do some damage, and get out. So it's just more about committing to fights at this point.
I mean, me and Rainbow were having a conversation just in the break there while we were watching the previous game about how maybe the use of Pathfinder has changed simply because of that cooldown. It's almost as if you have to be so much more resourceful with when you are going to use that grapple that you almost become more of a unit as a team when you have that extended cooldown on the grapple, just because of the fact that you don't have, like you mentioned, the ability to not only get in and out of a fight. You kind of have to choose now, am I going to commit to a fight or am I going to use it as an escape mechanism to survive and stay alive to fight another day?
Speaking of commitment, it looks like Triumph will be choosing this building to the northern side of Thermal Station. I do like this. There are two major choke points that they're going to be cutting off to their northwest and along with their northeast. And so they're going to be playing for those kill points. A lot of teams will be rotating in from the north-hand side. It's Myth that'll be taking the Rotunda, taking some damage as they make their way in.
Yeah, taking some damage, and Myth currently sat in 10th place with 16 points to their name, but in a pretty comfy position here, you have to say, in this dome building inside Thermal Station. So they're going to be pretty set up for the next couple of rings when it does rotate, and again, just showing how vital that Pathfinder beacon is. And now we're going to be jumping on board with Purge to see where they're set up. And I mentioned earlier, I think it was in game number 1 or it's game number 2, excuse me, how they love to rotate early and how they love to kind of use that early game meta that we saw, you know, getting into those early spots, trying to set up for that end circle. And once again, they've managed to get an early rotation. Again, not with the greatest armor. We might have to reiterate once again, but they're in a position here to last out till the end game.
Yeah, they shouldn't have to move anytime soon right now. The bulk of the action is going to be taking place to the eastern edge, excuse me, as we do have Ren popping out of that portal to back away, but Mandy tagging out Strafe in the kill feed. That's huge, as Nasky, Strafe, and Dell currently sitting in first place.
So that knock could change things very significantly here. We'll have to see that they are able to get the res off and able to get back into the game. We've seen some huge plays already with players managing to get the res off on 2 players when they only had 1 alive and coming back to play second in the game. So even though you do get a knock early on, it doesn't mean it is the be-all and end-all as far as how you play the game and how you try and approach this game.
I agree with you there. Yeah, I agree with you there, but I do have to note that Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are one of those teams, they drop central and they play for that center circle. Their rotates are some of the fastest. They really try to emulate, of course, teams like TSM, who share a drop path with them. And so this is really going to put a wrench in the works for them at this point. If they do try to go for that res, that's going to slow them down. They're a team that heavily relies upon their macro and getting to the late game just by having that first initial position and not having to move.
Let's see if it does affect them. As we see, around 1 minute 45, we're going to see a knock here actually coming on PJ here from VP as well. So you see the portal out almost immediately by Taylor, trying to get into a position where he can get through that portal and maybe try and get that res off and escape to live another day. But even though we are seeing these early knocks, still 20 squads remaining. As I say that, it's actually going to be the X-Click esports team moving in onto VP and getting nice and aggressive, taking down 2 of the players now. But oh my word, that portal was bad news. At the end of that, Watson traps and the barrel of a gun. So although this looks like initially a clean fight, it looks like VP are living to survive another day.
X-Click should have known better there than to chase after a Watson through the portal. They should have been happy with getting that 1 kill point off of Pija and back away. Because even if they were able to clean this up, they might have been in a bad position with teams all around them here at Thermal Station in the center of the circle. That was, I would say, a huge misplay coming out from X-Click.
Yeah, I have to agree. I mean, we all know when we're playing ranked and we kill 2 and we see the portal and the last player running away, you kind of joke to yourself, I'm taking portal, because you know it's a bad decision, but you're going to do it anyway, right? But this is competitive play. This is game number 4 of online tournament number 6, and mistakes like that, well, you can see what the results are here for the X-Click Esports teams. It means that Yuki is the only player alive trying to hold down this high ground. And with this being such a power position and him being the only player alive, being the Watson, at least he can get some fences up to at least, you know, fortify his position slightly. But if a team realizes that's a solo, I don't think he's going to be longed up there for too long.
I completely agree with you with that position. Now that makes realizing where their original position was, I feel like that was a huger misplay. They had a power position where they could have been playing for the kill point anyhow, regardless. They didn't have to chase after them. It was going to come to them right now. But Maliwan now trying to make this push. We thought this earlier.
Major rush into the team that we're watching, trying to use that caustic to be aggressive, but one of his team does get knocked here, and now he is going to be the last player alive, and although they're major pushers, they're the ones who are getting pushed back at the moment as he's trying to do as much damage as he can. The Eva A comes out, he manages to get one knock, and he's looking for the KP as well, and oh my word, somehow the caustic manages to turn things around there in what looked like a terrible situation to get KP on the board, and also keep one of his teammates here in the game.
Now they might be getting third party. There is a team, never mind. Ida is going to be forced away here as we saw that fight taking place just to the right of them. And now there's going to be an opportunity for them to try and stabilize. Ida pushes forward with his battery.
Is going to be popped. You can see his teammates are going to have to pop some meds as well to get back up to a full complement of HP, but it looks like they're happy with their position that they've managed to force their way into here, so the Watson Gen will go down. It looks like they're just going to take their time to stabilize, but as I say that, the Pathfinder Zip is going to go out, and that looks like it could be a Zip into trouble here. It looked like they thought this building might have been free, but there's a team actually sat in the other building who are just lighting them up at the moment as they try and traverse across the ground. They've got to be careful here. It looks like a secondary decision has been made here to try and move past that team and then restabilize here by the crates.
I love what's going on. That was Malawan's team that were peppering away at them. They were still trying to get the res, and coming out now, they're going to be able to get ranches back into this right next to the loot as well. And so this is going to be a huge stabilization effort coming out from them as we do see the Wraith getting back on in. So I love that they're posturing aggressively here.
Yeah, trying to be aggressive, getting that Gibby bubble up as well. And if he can sneak in, you can see there's plenty of loot laying on the floor as well for him to pick up. So not only is that just a big res in itself, the fact that they've managed to land on a building with plenty of loot around means that this Wraith Ranches is going to be able to get back into the game and be a real influence as this game moves on.
We're back on board with Tinku, Nook, and Ida here, who are playing the lower position. So a lot of action taking place on the northwest side of this ring right now. They do have the Gibraltar bubble going down. Remember, it did get nerfed, and so the opportunity, the window to try and attack this, it is about to open.
Ryan's going to have those thermites out as well, but he's going to get knocked almost immediately, and it's going to all fall down to the Watson player here as we see them trying to portal away, and it looks like he's going to just try and bail out of this situation, get to the other end of this portal, maybe look to get a res off, but it looks like those players will be finished, and now it's going to be, unfortunately for Cooler Row, he's going to be stuck in between a rock and a hot place with that lava, trying to get the battery off just to survive for a few more moments, but his job now, play for position, try and get some sort of placement points on the board, but you just feel like sometimes you're not long for this world anymore. He'll be taken down, and now we're down to just 18 squads in the game.
And we're just seeing the excellent display of teams that realize what are the positions that we can play for, where we can safely try and go for KP. We even saw VP actually getting in on that. Right now, though, we're on board with AHG, who are able to take out 2 members of Cooler here. The bubble's going to go down.
AHG in this battle and currently sat right down at the bottom of the table, just 4 places above bottom spot, just 7 points, which is always a surprise to see as we approach game number 5 with just one more game ahead of us. So they're going to have to put in some big performance here. Alliance as well. You can look at the armors, absolutely loving life at the moment. 2 purples and a gold on the Wraith there, Hackis. And we're going to have the triple take in hands here for IPN, trying to just put some shots on these players who are trying to rotate away. Not going to be doing huge damage, but certainly going to be expending some resources there on the team that he's firing down on.
And now Hack on the front line, getting decent damage off with that wingman. But again, he does have that gold armor, so he'll be able to get a sell off as they make this push.
Yeah, and you're going to see the caustic being effective as well, trying to throw those barrels into the bubble. And just looking at that Gibby, and you kind of feel for him at this point. He's got the bubble up, the defenses are going to be taken down almost immediately. Alliance seeing plenty of shots here, but it's going to come down to IPN with a 1v1 here for the Prowler, but they get taken down almost immediately, and the team who managed to do it are Ad-Hoc Gaming. I said that they needed big performances from big players in this game. They managed to do it in the initial fight, but if they can get the res off, so careful, because the third party is coming in almost immediately, and Kuya, now only 10 or so HP to his name, is desperately just trying to get out of dodge. They won the initial battle there, Jameson, but unfortunately with the ring closing and the area available for teams to be set up on, the third party is always going to be a viable option to come in and clean that up.
I said that AHG are excellent about taking these isolated fights, but we understand how many teams are here on the northwestern edge of this circle to try and gatekeep, to try and get involved in these third parties. With the fight taking so long, and of course with the Gibraltar going down, they didn't have the reset mechanic to get back into this. And so Na'Vi, realizing exactly what had happened in that position, were able to push off of that, and they're going to be the ultimate victors in this battle. Now AHG looked like they had an opportunity to try and claw up the leaderboards, but Claws is not going to allow that to happen.
So Na'Vi then laying claim to this position, like you said, picking up some KP along the way as we jump on board with SJP2 here, set up at the very southwestern area of this circle, and it's going to be closing. They're on the slow side though, so they don't have to make too many bold decisions as far as their rotation is concerned. Right now with 20 seconds left, they can look for that spot and try and move in the last second, possibly even walk it in. Don't have to waste any of the ultimate or the expenses of the raid to try it and get across the map. But Na'Vi now, once again, trying to be aggressive. See the player pushed up, trying to put some pressure on the team that is in that building with Faizu and Claws trying to back him up. It's going to be the Corsic team again who are going to have those defensive barrels to try and push that team back, and that's the difficulty there, shown perfectly how difficult it is to push a building that not only has 3 players in it, but has those Corsic barrels ready to be fired and ready to do damage as well.
We've just been king of the hill up here on the northern side now as teams are positioning for the next ring, and I got a glimpse of it for a second. There we go. It's going to pull down to the south side of Thermal Station, and so this is a very heavy pull, but there are a lot of great positions that of course you can play. There are the Thermal Station platforms to work with on the south, along with a building and a number of rocks that you can play there on the south.
And it is the playground when you got a Pathfinder. But at this moment, I don't think any of these teams are willing to be playing too much with their positions on the map. It's 16 squads now remaining. You can see more knocks going down as the Outsiders is going to pick up 1 down there onto Zanma. And now we're going to see a little bit more posturing as that circle has closed. A minute 50 on ring number 4 before that encloses. And that's where we're going to see a lot of battles going down as the room on the map is evaporating quicker and quicker and only leaving certain teams with areas to try and hold down.
Now SJP2 with 2 gold armors. They're playing on the western edge here, and this is the very heavy pocket that a lot of teams play for as soon as they see the first circle pulling over to Thermal Station. And so they're going to have a very slow side of the circle to work with as they're trying to make this push. They know they have to clear out this team. They want any chance of surviving into the next circle. SJP2 have been getting into a lot of mid-game fights. We've been seeing them so far. Their positioning has been great, but it's been about really closing it out and making sure they transition through the mid-game.
SJP2, the team we're looking here, and Na'Vi once again trying to get aggressive, but slipping into trouble there. And now, Wars is going to be without any armor. He's just going to be on HP, trying to land some shots as well to help out his race there. 9M2 trying to get aggressive and maybe finish off the damage, but the damage from the R301 is significant. Even though he's desperately trying to stay alive here, they cannot get those KP down, even with the amount of damage that was done there, Jameson.
Ooh, I thought Claus was going to go down there for a split second. He only took 1 tick of ring damage there, but we're seeing how difficult it can be to try and transition from that northern side. The sight lines are so clear for a lot of teams right now as they're able to just get some free damage off. We see a lot of teams holding positions, especially with the G7 Scout, which is what we're hearing a lot of currently. Now back on board with SJP2. Don't know if they were able to clear out this house to their east. But again, they do have the slow side of the circle, but the ring is closing now. They need to come up with something.
Well, let's see how they come up with something. We have the opportunity now to jump into the team's comms of SJP2.
Porta postawili.
Od razu postawił w środku pralkę rozstawiaj, żeby leczyła.
Wchodzę.
I bijcie plecy. Wchodzę też.
Plecy bijcie. Tutaj.
Rabat krak. Oni tam mogą stać.
Pomagają nam inne teamy. No, oni będą bić nas do końca.
Inne teamy nam pomagają.
Ja tam podejdę i wrócę najwyżej.
Uważaj, żeby ci z domku, żeby nie
będzie
zostawać. Leci. No wróć tu. Tu jest wratka jakaś, na kraku. Patrzmy tych. Tu jest wratka, biegną. Zero wratka. Zero mają, dwójkę.
Wszyscy się wybijają.
Będą bić nas teraz. Będą nas bić.
Robot. Dałoby się to podjechać.
Nie, no właśnie mi nie damy rady.
Ci w domu są trochę w piździe, oni tam stoją.
Patrzcie na tych, nie patrz tych z domku, bo ci nas biją. No to leży!
Nice, dobić trzeba.
Oni tam się biją, chyba.
Dobita.
Dobili.
Plecy dostajesz. Ile lajta macie? Ja nie gram lajta chyba. Rzuć mi się 40.
Będziesz mieć portal? Pikują.
So you heard the team comms there from SJP2 as they made their way in from that rotation. Jameson, I was going to ask what you thought of them, but if you're anything like me, I only speak one language and I'm pretty poor at translating.
Well, inflection says a lot at that point, but even then, very difficult. But I like that they were able to find this position here, of course, at the crates and keeping their attention to the north because that's where a lot of teams are funneling in. Throughout all that fight, I was actually watching on our other observers, Na'Vi still struggling with that team that were up to the North Maliwan squad. They ended up all going down to the ring, and that's what happens if you're not able to execute. And that bunker composition coming out from Maliwan and company, it slowed down the fight so much that both teams ended up hurting from it now.
Well, SJP2 are making a big push in here, and the first thing they try and do is take down that Watson ult to make those grenades as effective as possible. Unfortunately for them, the defensive Gibby ult comes in to try and counteract that, and that team will scarper away and manage to escape. They're managing to get some heals off here, but now you're really seeing the action start to pick up in this game. 9 squads remaining. SJP2 trying to be aggressive, trying to finish off this fight, and it's going to come down to the Watson to try and clutch up. Jellycorn trying to stay alive. The ring is going to be doing damage, but somehow he manages to just escape at the last second. Can he win the 1v1 here against the Wraith? No, he cannot. The stealth press is there, but it will be taken out in the last few seconds here. And somehow Gambit Esports and Hardeki once again clutching up. Somehow Gambit Esports and Hardeki once again clutching up in a vital moment here for Gambit.
What a tragedy. Take a look at Hardeki. He did so much damage with the flatline, but he survives with 1 HP. When you look at the VODs, you're not going to be happy with that one. There's so many gold armors that he has to contend with. So this is going to slow him down just a little bit, but no one's quite pushed it. 5 squads left, 13 teams remaining, or excuse me, 13 players remaining. We still have Jayemka alive, along with Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, who were able to get the res. Gambit here as a solo SJP2. Don't know who the 5th squad currently is.
Well, CHMK, they're the ones pushing up here, and I kind of feel for Hardeki there. He worked so hard to win that team fight. He clutched up so much, and what does he have in front of him? 2 goals, red shield. So he's going to have no ability to potentially finish off those kills, and those players, I'm not sure if they got rezzed or if they managed to stay alive, but Artico is going to be taken down here by Sanya in the feed. Only 3 squads remaining. Hardeki is still in this game as he takes down Taylor. And now we're going to see Nasky, Strafe, and Dell again set up for success. They are our team at the moment, Jameson, who are top of the leaderboards.
Yeah, they are also on ultimate high ground here, looking to make this push now, as they spotted one out. Again, they need to clear some of these gold knockdown shield just to be able to secure the top 2 finish at the very least.
The ult going to be used here. That's going to give CHMK the opportunity to potentially move up, but that is going to slow him down very much. Has to queue out of that position to try and stay alive, restabilize, but the issue for them is that ring is going to be closing in. They are safe where they are. They managed to get the Watson ult down as well, which means that they will be pretty safe as far as grenades and any projectiles that get dropped onto them. But one player to keep an eye on is kind of a straight 3v3, but there is a player with a gold knockdown shield there, which means that if this fight goes down, that's an easy second place unless he gets fallen. But it looks like CHMK have located him, and they will be able to clean up that kill as and when they need to.
That's Hardeki still alive for Gambit here, and so maybe his hard efforts will work out for them, especially if you can consider top 2 right now. Nasty, Strafe, and Dell, though, they are set up on this platform. They've got the Watson trap set up. They've got the generator even behind cover, and so they're going to be able to utilize this well. Rugby will finally finish off Hardeki, so it's going to be a clean 3v3 to finish out this last game.
Body shield here.
So here we go then. 1 minute 13. Oh, we're going to see the push before they're forced to be able to move. Mortal's going to be used as well. Maybe it's just try and get a cheeky flank, or maybe it's just a distraction here. We're going to see the stick come in. The ArcStar is going to be doing so much damage. 74 on the Wraith. He gets taken down just before he manages to get back through that portal. So a huge play there from Strafe. Now they can push in. Now they can get aggressive. Now they can finish off this game. It is just the self-res from Rugby here left to deal with. But surely there is no way. No, he has the gold bag, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. He walks into a PK. The game is over. And what a fantastic performance again from Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and that will extend their lead as we go into game number 5 at the top of the leaderboards.
And I'm happy to really be able to eat my words at the end there. I said that Nasky, Strafe, and Dell getting slowed down because they did end up losing one early on. In the early game, they're still able to stabilize. And this goes to show how much that they have learned. Now, even though they're not a signed team, they are one of the teams that we can rely upon, of course, getting to the OT finals. And they have picked up so much experience along the way. In the past, something like that would have set them back immensely. But I am, again, happy to see that they have been able to continue to grow and have this kind of performance on a day like today.
Yeah, amazing stuff from them. And as I say, coming into this game, we were talking about how there's not been one team who's kind of dominated so far, but with a performance like that in a game number 4, I think you mentioned it yourself. It's game 4 and 5 performances that usually seem to do the damage as far as these online tournaments are concerned. And when you come in on 34 points, top of the leaderboard, picking up a win with KP to go alongside it, surely at this point, it has to be Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, whose championship it is to lose.
Yeah, at this point, there are a number of ways they can play game number 5. They can play it absolutely safe, or they can try to maybe go for those early kill points. Regardless, though, starting off with this lead, that puts them in with a nice, comfortable bubble going into game number 5.
So it was 6 kills and a first place finish there for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. They're looking phenomenal. They're looking amazing. Game number 5 is still to come, but for now, we're going to throw it back to our analysts to break down what was a hectic game number 4.
Jamerson, thank you so much, guys, and welcome back to the analyst desk for a breakdown of game number 4. As mentioned, Fallout here joined alongside Ninjala to talk about that one. We thought for a split second Hardeki might get that self-res off and do it again, but instead, this time it's Nasky, Strafe, and Dell who win that 3 versus 3. Jayla, your thoughts on that finish?
I was definitely rooting for Hardeki and that finish. Unfortunately, he did get thirsted, but I was hoping to see what we saw last game and see him clutch it up again. But it was interesting to see CHMK in a 3v3 again, and unfortunately, they didn't come on top this time.
Yep. Last time around, of course, was game number 1. In case you're just joining us, we're CHMK, our former champions and winners from online tournament number 5. Won game number 1 with the 3 versus 3 fight. This time, they go up against the current leaders in Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and they lose that 3 versus 3 fight. So you got to say, I don't want to get ahead of myself. We've seen it before. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell is a team that doesn't necessarily get the recognition, the talk, the respect that they deserve as a top team in Europe, but they are one of the most consistent teams in Europe, and we've seen it happen where they play well games 1, 2, and 3, but don't necessarily clutch up or finish in games 4 and 5. Well, a victory in game 4 might be a different story for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. So I'm interested to see how things shake up as a result of that one. But let's go ahead and take a look at the final moments of that game as we saw that 3 versus 3 fight. I like the decision by CHMK's Wraith Rugby to get aggressive with the portal and flank and try to put some pressure, but it was all Strafe all day who saw it coming, did a great job just kind of acknowledging and putting a body to that 1 versus 1, letting his teammates fight a 2 versus 2. That's the right decision. You want to make sure to track towards that Wraith, because if you ignore that Wraith, then that Wraith is going to put an absolute menace or a dagger in your back. So I think he did a great job fighting that 1 versus 1, putting some good damage in. Of course, hitting a sticky with an ArcStar was incredibly clutch in that fight. That set him up big time. And in the end, his teammates were able to win the 2 versus 2 on the other side. That was a pure 3 versus 3 fight. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell doing it great.
Exactly. That stick on the Wraith was actually a huge play because honestly, I didn't even see the Wraith come up behind, but he turned around and stuck him and downed him before he even got into the portal. Unfortunately, he didn't get the self-res off, but I think it was a good effort on their part.
Yep, agreed. I think it was the right decision. I like the aggression. Sometimes they say offense is the best defense, and in that situation, CHMK took the first initiative, which Nasky Trafendale is known to be a really aggressive team. One thing I'm noticing is a difference in GSD this time around is they're playing incredibly mature. Their experience is showing. They've learned from their mistakes in previous tournaments where maybe they got a little over aggressive and took a fight they shouldn't have taken, especially in online tournament 2 and 3. I think we saw a little bit of that from them. And then the biggest thing they've been doing a great job of, early rotations. They typically are, I think they're still landing Fragment East. They're a Fragment team, and they are rotating so incredibly fast off the rip. And it's been incredibly impressive to see how faster the rotations are this time around. So Nasky Strafendale has made the changes that they need, and it's certainly showing. They still have the skill. They still have the mechanical skill. And then their teamwork, their chemistry, of course, is so incredibly strong as they've been a team since online tournament number 2. Well, now they're executing, which is a big difference in what we saw from games 4 and 5 out of GSD. So the big question mark is, they're not that far ahead. How far ahead are they? We'll be taking a look at the results here in a moment to show you how things shake up in this one, as I'm interested to see how many points ahead they are compared to some of the other teams. But Jayla, a big question mark is teams like, Alliance got taken out early. I'm trying to look at my notes here to see. It was Alliance, AHG, Ad-Hoc Gaming got 17th place, I believe. They got taken out by Navi. Walk me through that fight where Navi was able to push and take advantage of AHG.
Yeah, unfortunately, Ad-Hoc Gaming had wiped the squad, and as soon as they finished the fight, Navi came with the third party and was able to take out Ad-Hoc Gaming. So that was actually it was huge for them, because it's better to take them out while they have nothing than to wait until they reset and they actually have to fight a 3v3.
Yep, especially with how skillful Ad-Hoc Gaming is. If you give them a chance to reset, if you give them a clean 3 versus 3, I think 9 out of 10 times Ad-Hoc Gaming is winning that fight. They're one of the most mechanically gifted teams in the game, with an Irishman, someone from Finland, and Slovenia. Of course, that's Matafe coming from Slovenia. So a very diverse team in terms of their country diversity as well. It's great to see. But heads up play from Navi. I think it was 9imps who was able to push and take advantage of AHG being very, very hurt from their previous fight over Alliance. And I think what's happening is it's not necessarily that these teams, these powerhouse teams, are playing bad. I think we're just seeing a lot of the powerhouse teams, and unfortunately for them, get matched up with each other in 3 versus 3 fights early on. So they're taking out each other, and then they're getting kind of third party and taken out early. I don't think I could point to one thing and say Alliance is doing bad at this or Ad-Hoc Gaming is doing bad at that. The Ad-Hoc Gaming push in game number 3 was a little bit questionable, where they decided to push against that high ground tower. But outside of that, I think they're playing well here. Jayla, anything you're seeing?
Honestly, it all comes down to luck and battle royales. You never know who's landing next to you. You never know what loot they have. And unfortunately, all these great teams were on each other, and they just took Navi took the opportunity to take the third party, and honestly, both those teams got wiped out and gave them a good chance at going forward.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So we've been talking about a lot of these early game fights and maybe some bad luck early on for some of these teams. Let's take a look at the highlights for games 1 through 4 and see how the action is broken down, especially for those that are maybe just joining us and gearing up for the finals. Let's take a look at our game 1 highlights to kick things off for our European finals. I love watching European play because these teams are so evenly matched and there's such good storylines in Europe, and it shows. It was Purge who really started strong in games 1 and 2, showing up big, and we started to wonder, hey, is the Cinderella story real? Can Purge do it with continued success? But really, games 2 and 3, Nasky Strafendale really started heating up, as we saw Triumph here make some noise as well in this one. Nasky Strafendale got second place or third place in this game, as Triumph was able to get a victory by the way of the Storm, or the ring that was able to take out the last member of Nasky Strafendale. Game 3 in this scenario, we did see Gambit bounce back with some early game fight. This is where Hardeki went absolutely insane to close that one off. One of the best highlights I've seen of all time in Apex Legends. And of course, the caustic play here in Game 4. Dale, I know you were a big fan of this. Talk about this caustic play coming through from Major Pushers.
Dude, this caustic play is actually insane.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. And then you got the revive off. And after getting the revive off, they still, some way, somehow, were able to survive and make it to later game, but ended up getting taken out. And ultimately, in the end of game number 4, it was Nasky Strafendale that won. However, CHMK narrows their lead by actually tying them in overall points thanks to 9 kills. Keep in mind, you get 1 point for each kill. You get 12 points for first place, 9 points for second place. Hence why they both tied up at 18 points total. Gambit right behind them with 11. So a strong game 3 from Gambit thanks to Hardeki, and a strong game 4 from Gambit getting third place. Take a look at the overall standings, though, and see where that shakes up. Going into game number 5, it is Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in first place, but only by a 7-point margin. CHMK still has a wide open opportunity here to get the back-to-back victory. Gambit right behind them with 39 points, 13 points behind first place, and Purge with 37. So it's looking to be a potential 4, maybe 5-team race going into game number 5, Jayla.
I'm honestly looking forward to. I really want to see CHMK go back to back, but there's something about Nasky, Strafe, and Dell that's just like, I really want this to be the game for them as well too. They've been performing consistently throughout the other online tournaments, so like I'm almost like pushing for them to like really win this.
Yeah, that's a great point. If you're a fan of a good story, of a team that has stuck together since online tournament number 2, actually Nasky flew out to the United States and played with PvP in the first tournament and qualified. He's qualified for every single tournament, one in the US and North America, and then 5 straight tournaments over in Europe. So if you're a fan of a story of a team that just has improved each and every time and has gotten better, you're a fan of this Nasky, Strafe, and Dell story. Big shout out to Nasky, Strafe, and Dell for a great showing so far. But the question is not how they start, but how will they finish? That's the key going into game number 5, which looks like it's just about ready. Of course, if you're just watching, the summer circuit of Apex Legends Global Series is going to be live here in a few weeks. Here is the schedule. Make sure to mark your calendars and get excited for the summer circuit. It's going to be a blast. And of course, each much different format. Each team, top 10 teams from each regional will qualify for the next regional automatically. And ALGS points are ever more important. Keep an eye on that. Make sure to tweet at us using hashtag ALGS. We'd love to hear your thoughts all up. We'll read some tweets on stream. Tweet at Fallout with 2 T's. If you want to tweet at me, or at Ninjayla. If you want to tweet at Jayla, again, we'd love to hear your thoughts. And follow Apex Legends on all things social at Play Apex. It looks like game number 5 is ready. It all comes down to this. Will it be CHMK or Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, or will we see a team like Gambit and Purge come out on top? Let's go ahead and throw it back over to our casters to take it away. Go ahead, Bravo.
Hey, thanks so much, Fallout and Jayla. Bravo and Rain Day here to call the 5th and final game for Europe. And Rain, it's like we said, coming in, we have an interesting mix here of teams that are not necessarily within our top standings for Europe with a chance to take online tournament number 6.
When you think about it, I kind of have to use the phrase because it, goes with my name a little bit. When it rains, it pours. We saw one team and then another team and then another team and then another team. What that means to you watching, what it means to me is Europe is competitive. These teams know how to win. I was spending so much time talking with Mark a little bit in some of these games. You were casting brilliantly with Hotsick, and I just thought, Brav, we look at the way Europe plays, and it's not that they're passive, but these teams are so strategically smart that given any flip, any circumstance that could bend their way in a final circle, we don't know who's going to win. That's what makes Game 5 so exciting. There are 4 teams right now in prime position to take the W, and we just don't know. We'll have to watch and see.
Absolutely. If you're just joining, you picked a perfect time to tune in because here we are for game number 5 of the Apex Legends Global Series Online. This is tournament number 6, your European finals, and like we said, an opportunity for a team to make some big statements here as we take a look at this entry. It's going to be from south to north along the western side of the map. Anyone dropping around Dome, Lava City, Geyser, Overlook, even Epicenter Refinery are going to have very long roads on the way down.
And that also, though, means that they may be a little bit more separated as well. You see that hotspot at Drill, maybe a little gold backpack, gold shield. We've seen those play such an important role. And how about the knockdowns as well, Brav? Just as these teams start dropping, finding their loot, and getting situated as well, this is some time to talk about the meta that we've been witnessing, which is so much of these knockdown shields having an impact in high-level play, from really putting people at a disadvantage. And we've seen pros talk about it with you even look across the pond in North America, but you look here in Europe, the fact that you can actually win a team battle, and all of a sudden, because you are 2 more teams remaining, you got to fight while that other team can sit by, let you get down, and then take your second place position while you're in third place. It is something to consider of how much this is impacting the game and how important it is to have a few, or one at least, on your team.
Absolutely, and we do get a beacon visual there. Great job to the OBS team there. We did get to see exactly where that beacon's going, not only northeast of the map, but also even closer onto Refinery Epicenter, the ridge between those two. You saw 2 pings coming in from Gambit. Expect teams to play that eastern ridge of Epicenter. They're going to look for that height, and they're going to get ready to hold that, and ideally play it all the way into the end game. if you're just joining us here, our top 5 after 4 games are actually 5 teams that are not in your European top 5. We have GSD, CHMK, Gambit, Purge, MVP, all looking to close out Europe with a big victory here today.
And we're going to be following along with them very closely as well. Nasky, Strafe Del. Kind of hard to pronounce if you haven't seen it before. I know a couple people trying to type that in the chat, getting it all mixed up. But these guys, nothing mixed up about their play. Just fantastic individual performances. We've seen so many clutch moments. We've seen the Pathfinder still be very, very relevant in this new Season 5 meta, although the 35-second increase to the cooldown, it's made it a little bit more of a tactical use and more of a defensive use versus the initial aggression that we had seen throughout previous seasons. Strafe, Purge, I mean, all of these teams are showcasing that Pathfinder still very much a high-tier legend, and maybe none better than Gambit and Hardeki, Rob, that you casted there, that rap play, getting up to that high zip.
Absolutely good damage coming out of here from Alliance. Attack is to get able to land a lot with that Havoc. They're actually going to push in right away. We see some shots from the distance as well, and they're going to look for an early elim with Alliance. As a reminder, they are 4th in Europe overall right now, but not in our top 5. Going to be looking to get a little bit of an advantage there, but instead looks like Huck will take the moment to loot, see what he can find inside, and then maybe re-engage as well. IPN, of course, that Caustic flying in the rear as well, and it looks like now it's push things over to Geyser. Now it's going to try to come in. They're in a little bit of trouble as well. They do get the heals off, though.
Yeah, and that is important. Look at this Geyser squad also. Ida, Sync, these guys are geared to the teeth. Nasky, Strafe Del still in a little bit of an engagement. The early damage from the Scout is solid. Good use of ammo as well, but he's got plenty of it. 240 into the magazine. Blue barrel, blue extended, blue stock. He's blued out. I feel like he's part of the Blue Man group at this point with the 3 lining up together, but still 20 squads remaining. This is where things get a little interesting, Brav. And I mean, what's your take on this from what we've seen in the past? You know, I want to flip the question back to you. How do you play this round 5 if you're in this position that Nasky, Strafe, and Del are in?
Yeah, I think they're going to play this really smart. Keep in mind, they are up 52. The next closest is CHMK with 45, so they have a little bit of a point push, which means they can really rely on placement points to get them through here. They're going to be picking up limbs along the way, but I do expect them to be an early rotate team. I do not expect them to be spending too much time on the exterior, but rather getting in towards that really epicenter. Once again, the ridge between epicenter and Overlook North, the ridge between epicenter and Refinery. Look for that. If we also take a look at Virtus Pro, as a reminder, they are in 5th place here now. And if we take a look at where they are overall, 9th place in Europe. So a big performance here could make them more part of that top 5 conversation right there.
Absolutely. And Triumph right now in trouble. JMW just moving his way with a gold shield, but he's already lost Graceful, and Matey, well, he's going to fall down as well. So he's just going to have to abandon this, rat it out. Currently sitting in 7th place with 28 points. And they, again, are about 24 away from first right now, which is Nasky, Strafe, and Del. AHG, a team that we follow along with, and Matape, the man with the war paint going to war in Game 5, have not had the best tournament thus far, Broad, even though did a highlight on them, and they started out pretty strong. Only 12 points to their name right now, sitting in 16th in this Game 5.
They did. We saw some early momentum from them, but they actually have not been within the top 5 all day today. As a reminder, our number 1 in Europe. But as you can see, teams making very fast rotates. All of them are getting grabbed very quickly, and lots of fragment west as well. Unsurprising to also see teams at Survey. Now, as you saw earlier, you're not going to see a lot of teams grabbing anything around Overlook because they know they're going to have to make pretty uncomfortable western movement, teams that are already at Epicenter. So that we saw a little bit of early looting there, but not going to see too much more action like that, as we do see Purge holding central Epicenter. They're going to have opportunities for poke damage here. It's actually a scout triple take for Aspie, so really banking on that damage. You can expect him to maybe swap one of those as things get thinner, but really looking for that poke damage.
Yeah, and he's got the light ammo as well, so he can kind of switch off to an R99, not have to loot up too much after that, if that ends up being the case. But still 20 squads alive, and this kind of shows you where 2 different sides of the coin for what you're playing for. Right now, you're playing for points, but you're also playing for prizing. There are a few teams like AHG who aren't really in the position to get first. They're not in the top 5, but they can maybe push up into the top 8 with a big win and a couple of favorable knocks from North. And as you saw, Triumph sitting in 7th with 28 points, only about 16 points behind them. So a big game from AHG will definitely put them into the more money. So still a team to follow along with, especially with Matafe having that gold shield. Kuya pretty decently geared up as well on the Wingman Skull Piercer combo, just hitting hard as it does in Season 5.
Yeah, unsurprising, some great damage coming in from them, and they're in 16th place right now in this game, so really just hoping to get a big performance just to get more points on the leaderboard. Very unlikely that they'd be able to keep even that top 5 based on where they are, but let's go ahead and see if they're going to be able to push this out, as they are able to get that door break coming in now, but Tafe might be the one who leads this charge here, going to avoid that arc. No, actually takes the arc damage, but has to hold on the door, but actually going to get gunned down from the side. That's Limitless who's pushing in on them now. Kuya, though, picks up one in the feet.
And that's actually taking down Matafe as well, and they have lost their gold shield, and that's what they needed. Maybe you can get a shield bat off it. There is an armor swap potentially, but it's just not going to be anything near what they had hoped for. Zipith, he will clean it up, and you can see trying to get a finish off just to get some KP, but it looks like Zipith will fall as well. It is just up to Kuya, and Heat is going to go down. That's 18 squads. That's AHG, I believe, out for the count, and that will put their tournament hopes of getting into that top 10 very far away. And unfortunately, we'll have to follow along with some other squads here. Still, the story remains with Nasty, Strafe, and Dell holding on to a 7-point lead.
Outsiders does get away. SJP2 is the third party in that game, and I want to make sure we'll have to see if there are any AHG players alive. I'm not sure if we saw exactly in the feed if there was one that did get away. Several work came in when SJP2 did fly in, but also looking at GSD once again, and actually, to my surprise, they are holding a little bit towards this overlooked tower. That's going to give them all sorts of opportunities to get some damage and gatekeep, but to be honest, they're a bit further east. They're a bit out of the action here, Rende.
They are. And you can see Outsiders and AHG, the only two teams fully wiped there just to get confirmation on whether they were still alive. But, you know, I thought you were completely right. These guys might have rotated early, because if you do that, and you can just kind of sit into those final circles. But what we're noticing more and more in this meta, as the flatline comes out as well, it starts banging, big headshot, but not enough there, Brob. It seems like this is no time for sudden solutions. You're going to have planned this one out, because all of these ad-lib plays here are not working well for the team ziplining, or grappling, excuse me, into their enemies. That's going to be a big one. Dennis, he's going to fall down to Alliance.
Yes, indeed, Alliance is able to pick up those pretty clean, I might say, as well. Alliance, not a team that is in our top 5. Actually going to go ahead and see exactly where Alliance is sitting in the standings coming into this. I believe they're right around 13th, so once again, another surprising fact for that side. But once again, GSD is now making a little bit more of that movement. We saw them all the way at Overlook, but now going to try to make something happen here as we go back onto the side of Limitless.
And a lot of ordnance being thrown out right now. Heat up, primed up. R99 wingman. Blowing out of choice right now in Season 5 for a lot of players, especially on the Wraith. They've got that into the void. Get out of it 35 seconds after the cooldown, but when you use it, you're invulnerable, and that's all that really matters. Constant drops the gas canister. He's going to get a couple of headshots as well. That's flesh damage, and there's the Gibraltar bubble. Maybe going down to try to meet somebody. He's got the gold shield, so that shield cell actually can be saved, so he can get most value out of it. And the Gibby getting pushed now here, but oh my god, the caustic gas. He's got to enter the void, bro. He doesn't like what he sees.
Ida has to queue out right away. Very dangerous. Knows there's a lot of trouble there. Actually going to be heals coming in for the entire side. We take a look. There's actually going to be 9 Impulse. He flies in from the Na'Vi side, who picks up one. Mollywan also from Major Pushers getting a kill through gas there to the Limitless side. So at least 3 parties in this battle once again, and it is tight up here in Fragment. Ida, the only one alive, is on gold though, so might be able to fight through this depending on what's on the other side of Fragment. Needs to be very careful here.
But he's running out of ammo, bro. He's only got 18. That's it. He's got no more light ammo. He's got to rock with the wingman, but these are not the easiest things up close. He's going to look to get the revive. Nook is alive. I think they hear him moving in, but is there enough time? He's just going to try to get out and hold that building. And yes, it seems like they have allowed themselves to just play patiently, get away from the third party, and make it out alive. So they live to fight another day. Ida showing patience and how that is still a virtue, even after it being known for so long.
Here's CHMK. Take a look as they're going to be able to hold this trailer now as they're Watson up. You did see Rugby taking a lot of damage there. And actually, Kron goes down as well. Shots from all sorts of angles, and now only Sonya for the CHMK side. This is very important for them, and it looks like a very difficult battle. That will be CHMK out early in game number 5. They will be taken down by the X-Click side. And folks, that was CHMK, who was in second place. They were your tournament winners in online tournament number 5, but they will exit here and open up the floodgates for the likes of Gambit, Purge, and VP to fly into that second place spot. CHMK just has to hope that the points might fall in their favor to maintain a top spot.
And you may be, as a European fan, hoping to see a little Virtus Pro make their moment. But Jay, he's mentioned it in Twitter. He said, when is it going to be my day? When am I going to pop off and kind of show what all this work has been worth? Why have I been putting in this effort and not really gotten my moment yet? This could be it. Remember, Nasky Strafe Dell 52, but CHMK, Gambit, Team Purge 45, 39, 37 respectively, and Virtus Pro just 5 below that with 32 sitting in 5th place. And so they have a sneaky chance. Not a lot of action around them so far. Still 14 squads left. A big win here could actually put them in the conversation of top 3.
Absolutely, and here's the ridge that we're seeing now. Gambit holds. Gambit, by the way, in 3rd place with 39. They're chomping at the heels of CHMK, who was already out. Gambit has the real estate that, you know, almost every team in the lobby would have pinged. Once again, it's this eastern ridge just to the east of Epicenter. They have height on both sides. They have all sorts of cover. They've established presence. As we take a look at some of the teams remaining here, Outsiders, Ad-Hoc Gaming, Major Pushers finalized, as well as Gone Gamers, all eliminated here. Still, of course, 14 squads left in the match, though.
And they're just holding it down north. Lost Monday, but they've got RPR and Taishin. And this building is very, very solidified. But they're going to have 50 seconds to hold it down, and then it's going to be rent due. But unfortunately, they don't have enough to pay. They're going to have to move outside of that circle and get closer into the action. Gambit now, how impressive has Hardecki been today? So many good solo moments for the win, but also just staying alive with those gold knockdown shields near thermal. He's put Gambit in a beautiful spot here. Number 3 right now. Number 2, considering CHMK is essentially gone and only 6 points ahead. And they've got a lot of work to do if they want to beat Nasty Strafe Dell.
I can just turn up desktop
Absolutely.
audio. Like
in the quick sneak peek at a little bit of a quad box here. We'll get back to the main feed in just a second as we take a look once again. Myth is a team that is in a good position, but they have got a long way to go in terms of points now. Still looking good in the way of armor, but fighting from this low epicenter. You could tell by just the way that they're peeking that they know that there's teams who have established presence with them on low epicenter. So going to be a little bit of a difficult rotation for them up right now.
And I could see they don't want to sometimes get to that high ground. Sometimes, though, low ground is way better than you think, considering if the high ground forces you to move. And it's not always that it does, which is why it's so valuable. When you drop down, you are vulnerable. There is no way to avoid it, maybe with a perfect grapple. But at this point, if you're holding low ground and you know the zone is in your favor, that is a strong spot for Myth to be. And they stay in contention. 18 points, maybe not enough to get the win, but the outshot certainly enough for Gambit. Hardecki to get a knock North RPR. They're going to fall down, Brav, and that means just one more member of North. That might be the last member of North. No, it seems like no knockdown shield for gold. They might just have one of those more Taishin still alive. And to find another day with the red.
And look at scout on scout gameplay here coming in from Gambit. Like you said, Hardecki with great shots there to take down RPR as he was trying to cut across, doing great job gatekeeping on circle edge there. As a reminder, once again, Gambit in 3rd place right now. They are certainly playing for the victory in our tournament here, and they're playing like they know it. They've done so well to hold this area as well as things are continuing to pull a little bit even further northeast. Right now, though, Gambit is going to be comfortable and looking to play into the late game.
Nasky, Strafe, Dell, holding high ground and epicenter. And now they're getting shot. The big thing about them is because they've been so patient and because they've been so unwilling to take risks with that 1st place lead, they don't have very good shielding. And so it looks like Nasky and Strafe are in big, big trouble, getting pushed from above. Dell, he's the only one with a fighting chance here. He's got a purple shield, and it's an Evo at that. So they could combine resources. They could drop some bats. And you know that Dell's just trying to get the placement points here, trying to hold off, make sure he can survive as long as possible. There's a down. Can he find Strafe, Brav? It looks like this is dire straits for our number 1 team here in this lobby.
Dell needs to hold on to the prayers here at bottom epicenter. He's got a lot of cover from that south. However, needs to be very careful here as how he plays this. Like you said, our number 1 team, if they exit here, it will certainly be outside of the top 3 if there's so many teams that are able to fly into the top 3 spots. But right now, as you take a look at the P to see exactly who went up on that hill, that's actually going to be Gambit. That goes down to the side of Alliance. We only caught the end of that battle, but our 3rd place team is out. Alliance, we only caught the end of that battle, but our 3rd place team is out as well. They will exit in 13th. So these top squads falling so quick, Rainday.
And it's Virtus Pro who's pushing Alliance. We talked about it. A little bit of a hint. Virtus Pro has a chance to prove something. We mentioned that they've been going for their glory ever since Poland. Such a consistent squad. And now this could be it with OG Stick. Big shot from the EVA as well. He's going to slide into it. He's going to eagle him as well. Hit the shot, and that's the kill. Alliance goes down. And Virtus Pro and Taylor on a tear. Could this be them moving into the top 3?
And just like that, take a look at GSD getting back up. Strafe still needs to be recovered. However, we are going to see 2 out of the 3 ready to fight to live into the end of this game. But look at VP all on Evos. They are ready to fight, trying to get desperately maybe into this dome to try to avoid this ult, but instead just going to do a little bit of poking with that Eva 8. Needs to be careful. Has a lot of help. Looks like one team member will get all the way down. That's going to be Taylor now as we take a look. Knock is able to pick up 1 kill. PJ picks up the last one, and it's going to be Knock picks up another one as well. More kills coming in from VP. They just took down Alliance. Now they also take down Limitless as well.
And I'm getting chills right now, man. Yeah, he's got 5 kills to his name. And VP are looking so good, but guess what? Purge is alive. They are ahead of Virtus Pro, but they may not have as many kills. They've been poking, that's for sure, but they just may not have fragged out as much. So this is going to go down to the wire. 2 of the top 5 teams, and now a top 6 team trying to move in. Remember, CHMK, Rob, is gone. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, they've been taken out. This game is up for grabs here, and only 8 squads left. SJP2 find a knock on the backside.
Absolutely, and what these top teams just taking each other out, as actually Nasky's going to take a lot more damage than he wanted to. So is Dell, and this could be GSD out in 8th if they're not able to fight out of this, and they're all the way back to where we just saw them. This seems to be their preferred place to pop heals because they're doing it once again. They're going to get a few extra placement points. If we do see players going down, that's going to be Navi and the feed going down to SJP2 for just a moment there, as we see Click also getting some good damage on the side of VP in the feed. Now PJ, the last one alive for VP. We were so quick to say how good they looked into the late game, but now only 1 player alive for the Virtus Pro side. I believe that was going to be PJ on screen for just a moment.
Oh, and that's Nasky Strafedell finally down. That's at the 7th squad position. Not sure how many kills they had, but they most likely have done enough to stay within the top 3. I'd say it's almost impossible that they do not. But remember, Purge, VP on a great game here, 6 kills to Jay, and he's now finding himself in a bit of a quandary. Do you go for this quick grab banner, maybe just try to find resources off of his teammate? He feels like it's just priority for zone right now. 5 seconds moving in, and 6 squads remaining. This is a tough one, but this is where Virtus Pro could definitely find some glory in the archives.
And look at Purge. We haven't talked about them enough because they've been so comfortable. Purge right now in 4th place with 37 points. A team that could absolutely win the tournament because it's only them and CHMK in the top 4 who could close this out. VP now 5 points away from 4th. So keep in mind, PJ still playing for his tournament life. He will go down just as quick as I say that. That is going to be Virtus Pro out now and 5 squads remaining.
And that is it. Myth also looking to find Purge. SJ20 as well, who ends up finding one, and this is huge. 4 squads left. Myth are doing so well, but SJP2, they are having their moment here. Big Mastiff comes out. Prominent looks like there's only 3 squads left. This could be it. 2 squads left as well. Is SJP2 going to do it?
I think SJP2 right now with the Mastiff in that 1v2. We'll have to see. It could be our X-Click squad that gets it, and I think that's actually going to be who it was, the fast switch. Is that who you saw as well, Randy? I think X-Click able to take down SJP2 in those final moments.
I think it was. It came down to the battle of those 2. There was, I think, a down member that might have had a knockdown shield. They finished off, and then, of course, they turn around, and it's Click who take the 3rd party. They find the victory, and that just mixes things up because this is not a team that we had on our radar for potentially coming in the top 5, top 1, 2, or 3 in this tournament. And so they've definitely shaken things up here, winning Game 5.
Absolutely. We saw teams exit so fast. Keep in mind, GSD, Gambit, VP still placing within that top 6, top 8. So it's going to be very interesting, especially with Purge, I believe, placing 3rd. It's going to be really interesting to see how things net out between those teams because, as we said, really exciting results in Europe before we even tally them because our top 5 going into Game 5 and our top 5 coming out is almost certainly going to be different than the top 5 teams that are in your European leaderboard.
Oh, totally, Brav. And I think, when you look at this tournament, you look at the day as well, Europe has shown yet again that this is potentially the most deadliest region in Apex Legends. And we're going to have a great time in summer with super regionals, figuring that out, pitting more and more great teams against one another. But each game, a new team winning in Europe, showing they're deadly, showing they're capable, and showing they're prepared. I think that means the most for Apex Legends, the pro scene in Europe going forward. Everyone is lethal. Everyone's a threat. And so many teams showed up here. We're going to have to wait to see the results at the end of it to see who actually won this one.
Absolutely, Rain. I want to thank you so much for the commentary all day today. It was exciting. Can't wait to jump into North American matches as well. Guys, that's going to do it for us. We're going to go over to our analysts to not only recap game number 5, but give you our final results from online tournament number 6 here at the ALGS.
Bravo, Rainday. Thank you so much for a brilliant cast, as always, to close it out in game number 5, which was an absolutely insane game number 5 in terms of how fast things happened. You almost blinked, Jayla, and it all ended with so many teams getting taken out so quickly there. Your thoughts on how that wrapped up? Our apologies here. Jayla was sharing, which I could hear. Jayla.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. The last fights were so confusing because teams were dropping left and right, one after the other. So it was kind of unclear like what was happening until you saw who won the game. But it was actually pretty exciting.
Yeah, a crazy finish to that one. Again, we've seen a little bit of everything. We saw a game where the game ended because of the ring closing, and the ring actually took out the last person. And then we saw a game where I think 4 or 5 teams got taken out in the matter of like 20 seconds. So the diversity is certainly shown. That's what you love about Apex, is every game is different in terms of how it finishes. We saw a lot of really interesting and crazy end circles, and in that one, it was X-Click who came out on top with the victory. And what's so interesting about this is I have no idea where that's going to net things in the standings, because we were kind of seeing Virtus Pro alive. We saw Purge alive, and we thought maybe, just maybe, these teams that are in 4th and I think 5th place respectively had a chance to claw their way to a first place finish, maybe. But then they both got taken out. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell got taken out pretty early as well. CHMK got taken out early as well. So it's a much different finish than what we're used to seeing. And honestly, I have no idea where that's going to net us and where that's going to put us in the end. I'm interested to see how that all breaks down, as we'll be walking through some highlights here and the end game moments here in just a bit. But Jayla, do you have any idea where we are in terms of where things are going to finish?
I have no idea. Honestly, I don't think anybody knows at this point.
Yeah, you and I both. It could be anyone's game, and you got to think maybe it's enough for Nasky, Strafe, and Dell to stay in that first place finish. I'm sure Nasky, Strafe, Dell, and team would have loved to have a pop-off game 5 to cement their first place spot as opposed to just hanging on by a thread. But I think they have enough. I think is a key question there, because in the end, Click Esports got first place. SJP2, you just saw the highlights there. It was a little bit crazy. So to break it down, in placement, Click got first place with a 10-kill game, SJP2 in second place with a 8-kill game, and Myth in third place with a 4-kill game. So those are some teams I think were like maybe in the 7th, 8th fringe. It's a big question mark as to where things are going to wrap up. A 22-point game overall for Click Esports and a 17-point game for SJP2. So those are some statement games, undoubtedly, as I'm really interested to see where that's going to put us here in the end. Let's take a look at the game 5 results, though, and show you exactly how things netted in game number 5. As mentioned, 22 points for Click, 17 points for SJP2, and there you go, Virtus Pro with a 12-point game. I don't see Nasky, Strafe, and Dell in the top 5 here, or top 10 here in terms of points. Alliance was 7. Gambit was only had 4. That's not going to be enough for them. Was that enough for VP? They slayed out, but I don't know if that was enough, Jayla.
Honestly, I don't even know what. I'm just excited to see the final results, because I honestly have no idea what I'm going to see.
Yeah, it could go anywhere, as we are quickly and as fast as we possibly can calculating those results, anxiously waiting to see who it is going to be overall in first place. You got to think it's going to be order maintained with Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. And here it is. It is Nasky, Strafe, and Dell who are going to hold on by a solid margin, thanks to CHMK getting taken out early and VP being too far behind. Nasky, Strafe, and Dell are going to do it. The team that has been grinding has stayed together since online tournament number 2. 5 straight tournaments they've placed top 10, top 20, and finally they get a first place finish with a Pathfinder gameplay. They stick to their guns, they stick to their meta, they choose Pathfinder, they drop Fragment, they rotate early, and that same method for success that we've seen TSM do so well in North America, we've seen Nasky, Strafe, and Dell do so well in Europe, is finally going to pay off for them with a first place finish. Congratulations to Nasky, Strafe, and Dell. Unsigned, by the way, if there's any orgs out there looking to pick up a very solid team as they take home a first place finish.
I'm super happy to see Nasky at the top there. They didn't do their best in the last game, but all their efforts in the previous games definitely paid off and got them to the top. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah, you give your hat off. It's a great story, again, of a team that grinded from the very beginning of the tournament. So hats goes off to them, and a massive congratulations to Nasky, Strafe, and Dell, and of course CHMK. You got to say they they really have positioned themselves, ex-Crow Crowd, positioned themselves as a top team in Europe. I mean, that's 2 times in a row now they've placed top 3. I believe they got top 3, top 4 in online tournaments like 1, 2, and 3. They had some consistent top finishes. So again, massive congratulations to CHMK for a second place finish right behind them as they won online tournament number 5. And then, of course, VP. Massive pop off from Virtus Pro to get an 11 plus kill game to get 3rd place. They were able to leapfrog past Purge and get a 3rd place finish. And they, of course, are going to take home some prize pool as well. And a big shot to Virtus Pro, particularly because they're still working full-time jobs in addition to being professional Apex Legends players. A lot of other teams and players have a chance to play Apex full-time as pro players. Virtus Pro is a signed team, but they're still working full-time jobs on top of that. And I got a lot of respect for Pierre, for Nath and co. I had a chance to meet them in Poland, in Krakow, and learn a lot about this team. Grit is the one word I would use to describe this Virtus Pro squad. Big shout to the VP and Virtus Pro organization, one of the most storied teams in all of esports, let alone in Apex Legends. So that is going to be your top 3. A very, very strong finish for those 3. And Jayla, as we're wrapping up your first broadcast, I want to hear your thoughts. Is in summary, how was the entire tournament experience for you? What were some highlights?
Definitely different from my usual experience for the tournaments. It's kind of intimidating being next to people that are so talented, but honestly, I think I did pretty all right. I don't know.
I think you did great. Hey, can we give some shout out in the chat right now? Can we blow it up for Jayla? Big shout to Jayla. It is no easy task to do a broadcast like this for your very first time. And I thought she absolutely killed it. Give some love for Ninjayla. Make sure to follow her on Twitch and Twitter as well. Big shout to Jayla, who has been supporting Apex Legends as a streamer since day one and now is involved as a broadcaster for us. We're lucky to have you, Jayla, and big shout to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I thought you did great. Glad to hear you enjoyed it. And by all means, you're just as talented as every single other talent member on this team. So thank you for joining us. Let's go ahead and take a look at the top plays for the day, though, as we talk about highlights, man. No better way to show highlights than the top plays all day long. This is the Caustic play that we saw. We love that Caustic meta because it shoots things up. As
I was so happy
pusher is able to survive. It was great to see. Jayla, break it down for me. What we're seeing here from this Caustic play.
So basically, I can't really read the name of the Caustic, but the Caustic is literally 1v. I think it was 1v2, right? Yeah, he 1v2.
1v2, yeah.
Yeah, he downs the Gibby, and then he downs the other teammate, downs the Gibby, and then clutches up for his teammate. They end up respawning the Wraith and getting her back in the game. It was actually insane.
Yeah, that was a huge play coming. Actually, I think it was a 1v3 because he got a kill right outside there. But now we're moving on to our second top play. Some fun on the train. Make your way for the conductor. It was SJP2. Navi says, wait, are these guys really set up in the train right now? Is this happening?
They set up in the train and stopped it in front of Navi. They actually stopped the train.
Right in front of Navi, which is not what you want to do against a 100 Navi squad. So Navi, they see red, they see blood, and they want to get these kills. They play with uber aggression, but SJP2 is actually able to hold on. Even though Navi gets the first down, I believe it was SJP2 that maintains control here, Jayla.
Yeah, they did for a while. Unfortunately, at the end of this clip, they did get third party, but they did put up a good fight. It's just sad to see that they got stuck in that train.
Yeah, interesting situation for sure.
Yeah.
Good play from Navi to push there with aggression. And of course, Alliance in their team fight against Finalized is the last clip where Alliance is so good in these 3v3s. We all know Alliance is one of the top teams in the world, let alone Europe. Didn't have a great showing here today, but in this 3v3 against Finalized, they showed up so incredibly strong. And they showed why their team fight is so much better than so many other teams. Pushing as a squad, trading shots as a squad, and of course here comes the flank from Hockey. He's getting some good shots in as well with the P2020. Yes, it is.
Yeah,
showing that you can be any gun.
P20 air point shreds. Yeah.
Is that your weapon of choice, the P20?
Most definitely not.
Desperate times call for desperate measures. Only in those desperate situations,
sure.
maybe you'll bust out the P2020. That's for sure. So some good plays coming through from Alliance. I love the top plays being shown as well. However, of all of those top plays and highlights for the entire day, there's one play that really stuck out. Let's take a look at our play of the day here in the European finals. Who was it? Who did it? It was the play of the day over in Europe. Gambit Hardecki clutches the end of Game 3 in a massive, massive way. We got to watch this throughout the entirety. So Hardecki's, we're both sitting here thinking, okay, he's just going to rat. Might get top 2, might get top 5. finds the zip line, follows a team, and look at his health at the bottom left of your screen. We're like, nope, he's not going to make it.
Yeah.
By the hair in his chinny chin chin is able to survive. He's a flying rat across the zip line, and now he's just watching. He has the best seat in the house, looking down on every single person in the game and letting them fight, and then realizes, you know what? I'm going to join in on the fun. He starts putting some shots in on people as well, gets some great shots, and ends up coming out with a win here. Let's take a look and see how this plays out. Jayla, have you ever done anything like this in your life?
I have not. This guy's actually 10,000 IQ. He jumps off the zip at the perfect time. He starts taking shots at the perfect time, jumps down at the perfect time, and kills everybody.
Absolutely insane finish. You can hardly believe it. Drops down, takes it's 1v2, downs one and recognizes, hey, they're all going to be damaged from this earlier fight. He has full health and an Evo shield, by the way, so he's having some fun. He's playing with confidence in this fight. Great R99 play, takes out the wingman. Whoop! There's the flick. Easy money for Hardecki of Gambit as he's able to come out on top. Hands down, one of the best plays we've seen in the online tournament series so far. One of the best plays we've seen in Europe since we saw Xania from Luminosity Gaming clutch up in a 1v3 back in Poland, going absolutely insane. And guess what? We got a nice little tweet to show as a result of that play. Let's go ahead and take a look at a tweet and some fans, people that were out there that were supporting the broadcast throughout the entirety. Here you have it from Cinda Live. Andy Cinda Live Jacob saying, at Serdell Live and GSD making waves in the ALGS Play Apex Finals. Y'all are cracked. Win this. Finish this, he says. GG's. Let's go. It looks like Nasky Straight from Dell have earned themselves some fans, rightfully so, as they've been playing so well every single online tournament, and they end up with a victory. Of course, NPT Gaming 17 chimed in as well, saying, Sunday, chilling out, watching Apex ALGS. That's the best way to spend a Sunday right now, especially as we're all quarantining and taking care of people around us. Look at the monitor setup he has there. And then last but not least, Super Duper catches Jayla smiling, looking great, and me looking like a goofball on screen.
I just noticed that too.
Of course, you would look fantastic. No, I'm just playing. So excited to see Jayla on broadcast again. I couldn't agree more. Supa is Jayla joining us in the broadcast the first time has been an honor. Jayla, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, for real.
It's been awesome to have you. You had some fun. We're gonna see you again for future broadcasts, I hope.
Yeah, for sure. I just need to get better. I'm working hard. You know, I'm gonna come back better next time.
I love that, and I thought you did an amazing job for your first time. So again, please give some love for Ninjayla in the chat. Blow it up in the chat right now for Jay, who joined for the very first time. Absolutely crushed it each time. I like the mentality though. You're hard on yourself, but you shouldn't be, because you absolutely killed it. So we're excited to have you keep joining us as part of the talent team. Make sure any of you out there can tweet us using hashtag ALGS. We just showed some tweets right there, but we'd love to hear your thoughts. My man Halo of Thoughts, aka Aaron, sent me some tweets about Pathfinder meta earlier. We were engaged in discussion. Big shout out to him. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Tweet at hashtag ALGS. And let us know your thoughts on gameplay, on meta changes, Season 5. Obviously, we didn't see some LOBA today. Do you want to see some LOBA in North America? I want to hear it.
I mean, I really do. I really want to hear something different too, so that's cool.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think we'll see some LOBA, Jay?
Maybe.
North America?
We're lucky.
Only time will tell. Yeah, if we're lucky. I will say, though, this is probably the best in terms of meta, the best and healthiest Legend meta we've seen. We saw 2 teams running Caustic. We saw 7 or 8 teams running Pathfinder, maybe more than that. And we saw a handful of teams running a Gibraltar comp as well. Wraith and Watson are Queen A and Queen B as they maintain their spot in almost every single team throughout. We've seen some R99 play, some Wingman play. Anything else from a meta perspective that you saw that you want to talk about?
It was interesting seeing how people are using the Massive now because the PK is a drop weapon. I don't think that we saw any PKs at all, really, but like it was cool seeing the Massive like replace the PK. Yeah,
that is true. And Massive obviously a little bit different. The spread's different. It's a little harder to hit your shots. I don't think it's as powerful as the PK is. So,
definitely.
And I think that's a breath of fresh air because it wasn't just Peacekeepers dominating the meta, right? You saw a lot of Wingman. You saw some Mastiff still. Do you like it better now, or do you miss your PK?
I gotta say I missed the PK.
Peacekeeper's too strong. It's fun to use, that's for sure. Nothing more satisfying than a flick and a kill with the Peacekeeper.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree with that. So it's obviously interesting in terms of how the meta shook out for the European finals. Of course, North American finals are going to be coming next in a few hours, so get ready for that. We'll see if there's any differences there. In addition to that, this is our last online tournament of this current era. We're moving to the summer circuit after this. Let's take a look at the Apex Legends Global Series Summer Circuit, which is going to be kicking off on June 21st, followed by tournaments on July 12th, July 26th, and August 9th. We got tournaments almost every other week, which is so awesome to see. And guess what? Each of those regionals, the top 10 teams that place will auto-qualify for the next one. Of course, there's a massive prize pool, I believe $500,000 in total prize pool, and it will all culminate in a playoff grand finals between our super regions, the Americas, North America, South America, EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa, and then 2 APAC super regions as well. Across multiple countries in Asia Pacific region. So that is going to be amazing. I'm excited for the for the summer circuit and some of our super regionals. Make sure if you want to play, you got to be gold 4 or above, which I know a lot of y'all out there are grinding. You should sign up and play because anyone can qualify, anyone can make it, and we're excited to see, as you guys are looking for more information, who's going to show up in the summer circuit as well. For more information, check out PlayApex/ALGS. Online for more information. Battlefy registration is going to open up on June 9th. So make sure to register. Set your calendar to register on Battlefy on June 9th. You can go to battlefy.com/ALGS for more information. Anyone can sign up. It is an open tournament, which you love to see. Obviously, we got our pro players, but I'm excited to see what other Cinderella stories we'll see as a result of that. A massive thank you to our entire crew, the entire team that works so incredibly hard to make this broadcast possible. A massive thank you to all of our casters, Jayla, yourself. We got Jamerson and Onset. We also got Rain Day and Bravo. Thank you so much to our casters for holding it down. Hodzik as well, who's going to be joining us for the next broadcast as well. And thank you, of course, most importantly, to our viewers, every single one of you online supporting, all of our teams competing, the entire Apex Legends family and community. We will see you in a few hours for our North American finals in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. See you then.